drink, which if you imbibe, that is a ridiculously low price, and they give you the good stuff. They just rotate through specials. They've got their partnership with Outlaw Distillery. They've got a rare bourbon selection if you're looking for something more than a $4 drink. But even if you don't drink, go have some fun, do the trivia thing, grab a soft drink, and grab some of the delicious food on the menu. 1717 South Main. And as always, tell them that OC sent you over to Big Willie's. I can't believe we're going to have this conversation today, but the focus of the NBA world is on the Utah Jazz in an unfortunate and weird, backward, upside-down kind of way. Now, this has been building for the last couple of days, and I just don't get why it's coming to light now. Well, actually, I do understand. Because the Jazz are a team that media members especially, but that even people inside the NBA or like highly connected media members or whatever in the NBA, they feel like they can talk their noise about the Utah Jazz. They can say what they want to say about the Utah Jazz. They can identify the Utah Jazz as some type of threat. And the backlash will be either absent or minimal. You know why? Small market team, hasn't won anything of significance lately. No remarkably influential individual players currently on the roster. In the power dynamics of look, the Jazz are not the worst basketball team in the NBA, but in the power dynamics of the NBA, relatively new owner doesn't help you. Although I think Ryan and Ashley Smith are for their position as kind of the new money punk kids coming into the old boys club world, I think that they are as popular as you can be in that type of scenario. I think their reputation is decent, if not better than that. Obviously in the NHL, it's great right now. In the NBA, you don't hear quite as effusive a praise. People don't gush quite as much about it, but we're going to have this conversation, and I'm going to scratch my head during the whole conversation, but we're going to get it all figured out, all right? I always love to hear from you, so fire up your old text and figures, 877-353-0700. Tell me how you feel about this topic and any other topic. The Utah Jazz are in the collective crosshairs for their tanking methods. Oh, by the way, Andy Phillips is going to join us. We'll get into some downhill skiing. I'm watching Team Luge right now in the Olympics, which is what a wild event. Doubles luge. We'll get into that. We'll talk with Andy Phillips. We'll also talk some football, some Utah football with Andy Phillips, what he expects this program to look like under the new leadership, what he's looking forward to in spring ball and things like that. We'll talk to him about the pressure of a Super Bowl kicker that came through and looked really, really good and was in the conversation for some people to be the MVP. All that stuff with the former Utah All-American Andy Phillips. Adrian Denny's going to join us for some Between the Pipes, an Olympic edition of Between the Pipes, because, of course, the Mammoth and everyone else on their Olympic break. Men's hockey does start today. Team USA in action for the first time tomorrow against Latvia. And
that's 1 a.m., by the way, OC.
It's 1 a.m.?
Yeah.
Did I say 1 p.m. last time?
No, I'm just saying it's technically tomorrow. Like, that is early for us here in the States to watch the Olympic debut.
And look, if you're a real hockey fan, you're going to be up.
Yeah,
okay?
or at least DVR it and watch it later.
I don't want to hear anybody talking about, I watched the replay. Okay? What if Clayton Keller scores a hat trick and you're asleep for it?
What if he does that? You're asleep.
He might be a healthy scratch. So.
What if he does that? You're asleep for it, but you don't get spoiled and you watch it when you wake up, and you're just as excited as if you watched it live.
Nope, because then someone's going to lord it over you, and that person's going to be me. Well, I saw it live.
Well, you just lie then. I watched it. So cool.
Team Skeleton Sled right now. The Americans, Forgan and Kirkby, of course,
I believe it's women's, yeah.
Women's pairs, women's doubles, skeleton sled.
They just
went into first place ahead of the Polish contingent.
Let's go. They
go.
just had a nice message from one of the two American women there on the team there that said her mother passed away earlier this year.
Sad.
So she's kind of like, she said she's dedicating her Olympics to her late mother. So shout out to her and sorry for your loss.
Okay, wow.
Cool story though. So they like let's win for let's make that a winning story here.
You know, we're gonna have to get a skeleton racer on, especially a double skeleton racer on, because or luge. Excuse me. This is luge.
Oh, this is luge. Okay.
This is luge. Skeleton is head first. Luge is feet first.
Oh, okay, right.
I'm sure there are other differences as well, but that's the easiest way.
But they're like the great thing about the luge that's kind of unintentional comedy is that you're just laying on top your teammates laying on top of you on a sled.
I want to know how it's determined, how it's decided, like topsies.
Top
like,
bunk.
Ah, man, because it can't be all that comfortable. But I don't want to get too lost. Okay.
No.
James, I asked James. I said, "Hey, will you pull for me some sound, some reaction of the Utah Jazz again? When is the last time the Utah Jazz were in the headlines?" Well, I guess it was because of the Trey J trade. But we never get talking heads, opinion-based columns.
It's been trade-related because you had the Brian Windhorst meme. What's going on in Utah? But that was trade-related.
Nobody talks. None of the big names or the small names in NBA circles talk about the Utah Jazz for any reason other than apparently that now tanking, which has been a tried and true tradition in the NBA for 30 years, now people have a problem with it. And I asked James, find me some of the most ridiculous takes here. So James did that because he's a good producer. Well, you know what, James? Let's first go with the Marks one. All right. Bobby Marks is a voice you've heard on the air here, former front office executive in the NBA. And so, he's joined the drive with Spence Checketts over the years. And he's really the reason that this is going to be my main topic on the show today. So give me some Bobby Marks.
I think what Utah is doing right now is messing around with the integrity of the NBA. The ability to sit players, starters, in the fourth quarter, to not call timeouts in the fourth quarter. Orlando won the game on Saturday because they basically rested players. And it backfired on them last night. So I think if you're the league, you're looking at it. All right, can we do some gimmicks? Can we alter protections and eliminate protections as far as picks? Or can we put the hammer down?
All right. Okay, Bobby, this is the thing that threatens the integrity of the NBA? The Utah Jazz resting starters in the fourth quarter and not calling timeouts? This is the thing that threatens the integrity of the NBA. This, not a gambling scandal, a betting scandal that involved multiple players and multiple teams.
Chauncey Billups is in jail. He hasn't been convicted yet, right? But maybe he got out on bail. But
probably out on bail.
He was sent to jail earlier this season after he started the season on the Portland Trailblazers bench. And they yanked him off the bench because of this betting scandal. He spent some time in jail. He's probably out on bail. But, come on.
This. Lauri Markkanen and Trey J and Keontae George hanging out on the bench in the fourth quarter of games against the Orlando Magic is the thing that bothers you about the threats to the integrity of the NBA. Not legalized gambling or illegal gambling. Not an abuse of the load management system. Not rampant tampering before and after every free agency period. Not owners circumventing the salary cap to pay their guys for not showing up to do marketing campaigns so they can add an extra $5, $8, $10 million and incentivize them to stay or to show up
or to just go to your team over another higher profile team.
Exactly.
Like Kawhi Leonard chose the Clippers because of this.
This is the thing. Lowry Markkanen getting a little bit of extra rest so that the Jazz can protect a pick. That's the thing that threatens the integrity of the NBA for you. This is the dumbest thing that we've seen in NBA conversation circles recently. And Bobby Marks is not alone. Okay, give me the DP cut.
There's a problem in the NBA, and that has to do with tanking. Now, normally you'll get maybe one or two teams tanking for the opportunity to get somebody special like Cooper Flagg, Victor Wembanyama. And you've probably got 3 or 4 players in college basketball this year who will come in and contribute right away. A.J. Debanza is probably going to be a guy that's going to contribute. I mean, Utah would love to just keep him in Utah, and that would be tank worthy. And I think Utah is building something. You know, they got Lauri Markkanen, and they got Jaren Jackson Jr. III as well. And if you're tanking and maybe you get one of these guys, then maybe you got something there. But teams are being obvious, it feels like. Like, we're just going to sit our team down. We're not going to play in this game. Okay. Yes, Marvin.
Yeah, and I think there's a difference between tanking and just being sorry. Like the Washington Wizards, they're not tanking. If that was the case, they've been tanking for the last 20 years. They're just not good.
I don't know what the commissioner can do. Yeah, Paulie.
There are so many stories about this in just the past 2 days. Our buddy Chris Mannix of SI wrote one yesterday. The Utah Jazz were in a game where they were up 3 points to start the fourth. They sat 3 of their starters for their entire fourth quarter. So they're doing everything they can to lose the game, and they won that game.
Was that against Miami?
Yes. And 3 starters in a 3-point game sit.
Yeah.
That means it's obvious you're not competing in that game.
Yeah. But I don't know what you can do about it. The NBA's got a real issue here of probably 5 to 7 teams who are tanking right before our very eyes.
Okay, so Dan Patrick, who is, for me, the gold standard in this business, started it out talking. That's from this morning's show, by the way, which you can listen to on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, right before Rich Eisen, and then leading into the best show on the air, of course, this one. That's from this morning, talking about, here's another example. At least they're talking about tanking in general as being a problem. And yes, the Utah Jazz are guilty of it right now. And guess what? This is the system that the NBA created. Incentivizing losing to increase your draft lottery odds, finding a way to make sure that you maximize the potential of building your roster through the draft, because for the Utah Jazz, that is the best way to build your roster. And actually, that's a great point that Ashley Neville, we got to learn more about Ashley Neville, because that's a great point. Wait, no.
Well, no, this was Rachel Nichols.
Rachel Nichols, excuse me. Rachel Nichols was the one who made the point about.
Ashley Neville is one of our ridiculous sound we'll get to.
Rachel Nichols made the point about, well, look, if you're the Utah Jazz, how else are you going to do it?
When she said, so this was on Open Floor with Chris Mannix, their kind of YouTube podcast show that they do for Sports Illustrated. I was listening to that because as I was searching for ridiculous takes, that's one of the videos about that was like Jazz tanking problem. They didn't really have a ridiculous take on it though. They were talking about how tanking is a problem, overall, and there's a bunch of teams that are doing it. And as they're talking about that, Rachel says, we need to redefine the problem, because people say that tanking is the problem because it hurts the product, the on-court product of the game, which that's true and that is a problem. But the point that she made that I have not heard anyone put it this way, and you were starting to say it, is it's not about hurting the product so much as it's about teams like the Utah Jazz, small market teams who are rebuilding, don't have a better avenue of building their team, of getting stars, than to tank and get the best draft pick they possibly can.
Hold on, actually, they do. And Steve Ballmer showed us the other way that you can do it. And
you can aspire to something higher.
And it is illegal. And it is against the rules. Tanking is actually like in the gray area where it's not technically against the rules, especially the way that the Utah Jazz are doing it right now. Is it a gentleman's tank? Is it a dignified tank? Look, tanking is unfortunately a somewhat necessary evil in the world.
You're being so indelicate right now.
Of college basketball and pro basketball. It sucks. It sucks that you have to do it, that you're incentivized to do it. But it's kind of like when you find yourself involved with, like, maybe you have a policy at work, right, where you get more heavily punished for being late to work than for calling out sick to work. So if you're going to be late to work, you're just like, well, I'm just going to call out sick.
I just phone it in today.
I just have to, like, because I have sick days and I get in big trouble for being tardy. So you just don't show up, and then everyone gets screwed. Everyone that counted on you for that day, you're just like, well, sorry, guys. That's just the company policy thing. There's plenty of bad systems, and this is one. Nobody's debating that. I find myself embarrassed that I'm in a situation right now where I have to defend this behavior and strategy from the Utah Jazz because it is far from ideal. I don't want this to be Utah Jazz basketball.
Well,
I don't.
The Ainges, Danny and Austin Ainge don't want to do this. Justin Zanuck don't want to do this. The previous Jazz iterations of the Jazz front office, Dennis Lindsay led front office with Justin Zanuck as part of it, of course, still the Kevin O'Connor, the Ladens. You know how many years the Jazz were just mid, and they could have just been, they could have just been like, if this was more widespread, they could have been like, you know what, let's just play for a higher draft pick, and they instead overachieved and just missed the playoffs or barely made the playoffs, lost in the first round because they were like, we don't want to lose on purpose. This is they're doing this because they have to, kind of thing.
The integrity of, like, you know what, we're going to compete our hardest no matter what because I want to be able to look my fans in the face and look everyone in the mirror. Okay, fine. Like, go ahead and win an extra 11 games this year and be a team without that pick. And by the way, the fan base, because all of us are hyper aware now of what is at stake, the fan base, if you win too many games and you squander the opportunity to have the pick that would convey to Oklahoma City, and again, I keep making this point, if this were a pick that was going to New York Knicks or was going to the Orlando Magic or was going to be given to anybody who's not a threat to you, I would say, maybe people are going to be kind of split on the reaction. If you give another great young player to Oklahoma City while also taking that away from yourself, that is management malpractice. That is punishable by firing. If in any other scenario, we're just like, you know what? Let's trade Lauri Markkanen to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay, what are you going to get back? Nothing. We're going to get nothing back.
And get cash considerations.
Wait, what? But you're making them way better, and you're not helping yourself. I know. But if the Jazz came out and said they were going to do that, every one of these same voices evaluating the NBA would be like, that's a laughingstock franchise. That's disgusting. You can't do that. If they sacrifice something good for the sake of whatever, the honesty of the sport, the spirit of competition, if you sacrifice the ultimate possibility of success for your team so that people are like, you know what, that's a group with some integrity right there. That's not how professional sports are run. That's not how any big money organization is run. So I am bothered that I'm defending a tanking strategy, okay? I just want to make that clear. But it is right now the best and only path out of this darkness that Utah Jazz basketball has existed in for the last several years. If you don't want to be in this same conversation you've been in for half a decade now, you have to do something different. You have to do something drastic. You have to do something like this. And by the way, because the NBA created this system and then penalized people for rewarding themselves in this system, they found a more clever way to do it. And they said, look, man, we're not going to sit guys and pretend guys are injured because we're going to get fines for that. The NBA is going to get mad at us for that. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to shut it down 15 minutes early. And if you have a problem with that, which a lot of people do, you're just going to have to take it up with Adam Silver. And I promise you, the league office is looking at things like this, and they're going, geez, is this really where we're at? And if it were another franchise, not the Utah Jazz, not the Utah Jazz are in that like small tier sort of small market tier of the NBA. So it's like if the Utah Jazz do it, or the Memphis Grizzlies do it, or the Orlando Magic do it, or the New Orleans Pelicans do it,
or a bad OKC team does it.
Yeah, or pre-championship OKC.
Hey, wait a second.
Wait, they did
do that.
They did that to get Chet Holmgren.
Or how about the San Antonio Spurs, which is held up to be this crown jewel of the NBA because they're a small market who became a dynasty recently. How about their last 6 seasons up till now?
And here's how you know that all of the angst and the difficulty and the anger about this is just hot air, because there is not one single person who's saying, Utah Jazz are threatening the integrity of the game. What's going on right now, this tanking is completely unacceptable. Not one of those people is coming up with a workable solution. That's how you know it's just hot air.
Well, yeah, there's so many ideas being thrown out, but they're not, like you say, they're not workable things.
It's the same thing as the tampering problem in college sports right now. Everybody under the sun looks at it, sees it, hates it, and is like, you know what? This is too big of a problem. We have to find something to fix this. And that's as far as the conversation goes. The only coach, the only person of actual import or influence who's done anything, who's gone out on a limb, who's said anything, is Dabo. Because Dabo is bulletproof at Clemson, or feels like he is. Dabo has already won national championships. Dabo is a guy that if you got fired or kicked out or blacklisted today, he would be fine for the rest of his life, okay? That's his personality. That's his financial situation. That's whatever. So Dabo can make those comments. All of us that are just like, in the media, hey, I want tampering to end. I want tampering to be punished, right? I want the next team that calls a University of Utah football player to lose a scholarship and to lose $500,000 in revenue share money. I want them to be punished in a meaningful way. I can stand here and I can pound the table and I can stomp my feet and I can yell about it. And probably, realistically, somebody up on the hill might give me a call and just be like, that's not what we want. That's not what we want.
They won't say directly, but behind it will be, we're doing it too.
That's not what we want. So, unfortunately, everybody, including Dabo probably, but everybody lives in a glass house and cannot afford to throw stones. And the tampering situation in the NBA is exactly that. Every franchise that is the bottom third of the league right now is looking at their roster, is looking at their draft picks in the next few years. They're looking at the prospects, and they're going how do you think you got Jaren Jackson Jr.? How did you get Trey J? How did Orlando get Desmond Bane? Memphis looked at what happened. They saw that they had an incredibly talented roster that should have achieved something, and they realized that their best player, their star player, was not a professional, was not going to make the sacrifices necessary to help the team achieve anything significant. So Memphis, quietly, gradually, is peeling things back and stripping things down and preparing for the future by stockpiling picks like the Utah Jazz just gave to them. And guess what Memphis is going to do to maximize the potential of those picks? And their own picks. They're going to tank. And when Memphis does it, people might get mad. If the Lakers do it or the Boston Celtics do it, or probably the San Antonio Spurs now because they're the gold standard, whoever, and by the way, the Spurs did this very, very recently. Anyone else who does it, the Golden State Warriors start tanking in their rebuild when Steph Curry is on his very, very last legs. Everyone's just going to be like, wow, championship organizations do what they have to do.
Yeah.
This is the dumbest anger we've ever heard from NBA media.
It really is. And by the way, Jimmy Butler's out for the season. Kristaps Porzingis has played like 10 games, who they just traded for. The Warriors might do this the rest of the year if they can't get Porzingis healthy. And let me just make this point about the Dan Patrick Show sound that made me yell at my radio, literally. And I love Marvin Prince. He's the newest Danette. If you listen to the Dan Patrick Show, you know who Marvin is. But he said he stopped DP, and he said, the Wizards aren't tanking, they're just sorry. And I went, what do you mean they're not tanking? Do you know when they traded for Trae Young, OC? They traded for him January 7th. Do you know how many games Trae Young has played for the Washington Wizards?
Hold on. 7?
It's been a month. He has not played a game.
Wait, is that true?
That's true. I looked it up. His last game was December 27th. The last game he's played this year was December 27th. Okay? Okay. The reports came out almost immediately after they traded for Anthony Davis at the deadline last week that they don't plan on playing Anthony Davis the rest of the year. Now, the front office has walked that back a little bit, so maybe he plays a game here or there. They're not tanking, Marvin? Really? You're not watching if you think the Jazz are the only team doing this. By the way,
I'll be fair. I'll be fair to Marvin because I'm not watching the Wizards either.
Okay, fine, but you know, all it takes is a little bit of like, hey, I wonder how many games. I haven't heard much from Trae Young as a Wizard yet. He must not be playing very much, and he hasn't played a game yet. So, and I'll say this too. There's 2 months left in this season, and that's what they're doing. They're just not playing their best players the rest of the year. Maybe they play a few games, but that's it. The Jazz traded for Trey J, right? That's an all-star. He's played in 2 games. The Jazz have every reason to do what the Wizards are doing with Trae Young and Anthony Davis with Jaren Jackson Jr. We just say, hey, thanks for coming in. You're not going to play till next season. They're playing him.
It's tomato.
That's better.
It literally is like here's what we could do. Spence said it accurately. He said Trey J is going to fly into Salt Lake City and find out he's got a bad back.
He's got a chronic back problem.
And instead of that, the decision has been made in the Jazz organization to do something that, as a fan, I appreciate a heck of a lot more. Imagine if you're a Wizards fan. I think there's like 9 of them left, right? And you're like, oh, sweet, we got Trae Young. Oh, sweet, we got Unibrow. And then your organization goes, you're not going to watch either of them play in a Wizards uniform this year. And you're like, what?
At least give us something. Like, everyone knows
we're gonna
the deal.
Lose as many games as we can, and those new guys that maybe you want to buy a jersey for, they're not going to play.
Oh, please still buy the jersey, though.
Now,
for $300.
Is it a great thing? Is it an ideal thing for the Utah Jazz that they're going to sit these guys in the second half of the third quarter and in the fourth quarter? Obviously not. But at least they're letting you see. You're going to, as a Jazz fan, you get to catch a glimpse of what those, what are we calling that? The mountain forest front court or whatever, right?
Yeah,
the
forest front court.
What? And by the way,
forest court.
You're going to see more of it when Walker Kessler gets healthy, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
The Trae Forest, because they all can shoot threes.
At the end of the day, there are plenty of threats to the integrity of sport. Pro sport, NBA basketball, NFL football. Integrity of sport is kind of a silly phrase anyway, but college athletics right now is plagued by all of these issues that we have a hard time finding a solution for that is not immediately shot down with a lawsuit. I'll tell you what's threatening the integrity of sports, James. It isn't tanking. It's not even betting. It's lawyers.
Yeah, litigation.
It's the fact that you can have your way, you can get your way no matter how silly it is if you have a good lawyer. That's the biggest threat to the integrity of sport. Like, obvious evidence. Dabo Swinney pulled the receipts on Ole Miss, okay? I want this punishable to the highest extent of the NCAA law. Ole Miss is going to retain the effective counsel, and they're going to be like, you know what? We're fine. Trinidad Chambliss is still fighting his legal battle to try to get more eligibility at Ole Miss. That's the biggest threat to the integrity of sport. The fact that if you have enough money and a lawyer that is willing to stick his neck out or his firm's neck out far enough, you can have your way no matter what your way is. Into the socio and political issues, into competing against people that shouldn't even be in your same category. We've seen it all in college sports already. And it's not because of organized crime being involved in betting. That's a bad deal. And that's a threat to sports. That's a threat to the integrity of the competition and things like that. But the lawyers are a bigger problem. And I have plenty of friends who are attorneys. I'm not attacking you personally. But that profession, and more pointedly, the American judicial system that allows like nearly any argument to be heard and proven or ruled in favor of by the right judge, that's an issue. By the way, if the Utah Jazz were to be punished by the NBA for doing this version of the tank, you know how they could get themselves out of it? You know what the best way to fix that problem for the Utah Jazz would be? Hire a nice lawyer.
Yeah.
And have that lawyer be like, you cannot tell us that we deserve to be punished when the San Antonio Spurs did not deserve to be punished, when the New Orleans Pelicans did not deserve to be punished, when the Oklahoma City Thunder did not deserve to be punished, when the Minnesota Timberwolves did not deserve to be punished.
How about when the Dallas Mavericks, one of the last things Mark Cuban did in an NBA season as an owner, and he didn't do this directly, but the last thing he oversaw as the majority owner of the Mavericks was just saying, you know what, we're not going to play Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic the last week of the season when they still had a chance at a play-in berth.
Can I tell you the outcome of this for the Utah Jazz that is going to just absolutely tear the guts out of Jazz fans? And I am a believer, and you will not be able to convince me otherwise, that there is some form of manipulation in the draft lottery to ensure the outcomes that the NBA wants. I've had Andy Larson on, and he said it's not possible. I've had Gordy Chiesa on. He says, no, they've got that thing protected. We've had Sarah Todd on. I was in the room. I know how they do it. They can't manipulate it. I will not believe that. Because
I do, for the record. But it's okay if you don't believe it. It's fine.
Here's what's going to happen, James. The Utah Jazz are going to tank their way into keeping the protected pick, right? And instead of getting Darren Peterson, who I don't want, or A.J. DeBonsa, who I do, or Cam Boozer, who I do, they're going to end up with like the 6th pick again. And all of these people, all of these talking heads are going to say, you know why this happened? Because the basketball gods say that you shouldn't do it the way the Utah Jazz did it. This narrative right now is showing me enough that people are willing to turn on the Utah Jazz for doing the same thing that other NBA franchises have done and to punish them for doing the same thing that other NBA franchises have done. That is where my conspiracy mind goes. Like, oh, you know what? This is going to be used as like the ground floor of the argument about why the Utah Jazz don't deserve to win that lottery, don't deserve pick number 2, don't deserve to have nice things. And so we're not going to give Salt Lake City and the Utah Jazz nice things. Watch, all of you Jazz fans out there, watch it happen. And then tell me again that there's no manipulation going on.
It might happen, and there will not have been manipulation.
It will be because of manipulation. If you are a multi-billion-dollar organization like the NBA is, and you can control outcomes, you do. Cooper Flag, baby. That's all the evidence I need. Patrick Ewing before that. Although the system was different when it was the Patrick Ewing situation.
Yeah, that was the first year of the lottery.
All right. Little speed skating on your television if you're watching the Olympics. We got some downhill skiing to talk about with Andy Phillips, some football to talk about with Andy Phillips. The former Utah kicker joins us on the Sean O'Connell Show next. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Well, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in my friend, former Utah All-American kicker, and a guy that the Venn diagram of being an elite skier and an elite football player, I imagine, is probably very small. But Andy Phillips checks all those boxes, which means he's the right guy to bring on ahead of spring ball and during the Winter Olympics. Andy Phillips, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey, thanks, OC. I appreciate that introduction, and I think I should let Ute fans know the skiing sucks in Michigan. So if there's anybody else that comes through that's a skier that wants to play football, I think we have a pretty good shot at it.
We got the market cornered on people who want to be playing big-time football and skiing on world-class slopes. So I'm not worried about losing those people to Michigan. Andy, let's talk Olympics before we get into anything football related. All of us become experts on something you're actually an expert on for about 2 weeks every 4 years, and that includes every winter sport, and big-time downhill skiing is one of the most exciting things that we see at these games, and already it's given us maybe the biggest story from the American standpoint, at least, of these games, with Lindsey Vonn looking like, oh, she was probably not gonna compete because of the crash 9 days before the games, and then she decides to compete, and then 13 seconds into a run, she falls and breaks her leg. First of all, deciding to make the effort to compete with a torn ACL, with a ruptured ACL, with a knee that it was injured a week ago, what kind of decision-making process, what kind of medical evaluation process does a high-level skier go through just to get to the point where it's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to give this a try?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would argue, that our fan base here in Utah is probably more educated than your normal American watching these Winter Olympics. But with that being said, there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that I think a lot of people aren't aware of. I mean, Lindsey, while yes, she's on the U.S. ski team technically, she's got her own staff. She's got a staff of a lot of doctors, a lot of trainers, coaches. In fact, her head coach is Norwegian, Axel Lund Svindal, and he is one of the most decorated Norwegian downhillers. And so he knows what he's talking about when it comes to leading Lindsey Vonn, making suggestions, line suggestions, inspecting the course. He knows many of these courses that she's raced throughout the season as well as she does. And so when she retore her ACL, you can most definitely get away with continuing to ski, and especially if you throw a knee brace on there, you can continue to ski. However, you're not going to be quite as strong. You're going to compensate or start to use your other leg a little bit more. And we saw that in her training runs this Olympics. She started to kind of land a couple of these airs on her, I believe it was her right leg versus her left, and so it's a different. All of a sudden, you have to approach the ski race differently when it comes to your tactics. The other thing I think a lot of people don't understand is downhill, especially. You have training runs so that you can get a feel for the snow, you can get a feel for the course, the terrain, and a lot of these women have run this Bormio course, multiple times in their life, so they know what it's like. But what you can never really truly account for in ski racing are the variables, the snow conditions, the weather, the wind, and the temperature. And so what you don't see is you're like, hey, Lindsey ran this track twice a couple days before. Now all of a sudden she jumps into the downhill race and she's 5 or 10 inches offline. How does that happen? And what you don't understand is there's 60 or so women have run this track now for 2 days, and so the terrain is varied, the snow is varied. It's probably running a little bit faster, so she's a couple miles an hour quicker, and just accounting for all of those things on a torn ACL while nerves are running through your body, and at 42 years old, there's so many variables, and unfortunately for her, she was a little bit offline, hooked her arm in a gate, and you saw what happened. It just spun her in the air, and then when you have 210 plus centimeter skis on your feet, and you're rolling around on ice, things are going to break and twist, and that's what happened to her.
She put out that statement that her line was 5 or 6 inches too tight, and that's why her arm goes through that gate. I mean, if you can, give me a description of how that happens, about, when you're going that fast and when you've practiced on the course or you haven't or whatever, the margin for error and how you could avoid it or how you can't in a situation like that.
Yeah, a lot of it, it comes down to composure and understanding those variables. Like if I were to align it with an experience that I had, I was when I was 17 years old, I was in Fort Miguel, Spain, running a downhill, and during the race I came over an air, and all of a sudden I had a tailwind of about 10 miles an hour that I hadn't had in the earlier training runs. And so I didn't adjust my line as I came off the jump, and I flew straight into the panel. Whereas earlier I'd been going a little bit slower off of that jump and could land and make an adjustment on the snow. And so, yeah, the track was likely running a little bit quicker. Again, she has nerves, so maybe some adrenaline forced her to put a little bit more pressure on her ski, which started her turn a little bit earlier, and then she just hooked her arm. It happens, and those are pretty unforgiving conditions when you're going 60, 70 miles an hour. It's a degree of direction, and you could be through the panel or you could be flying on to the next gate. It's just the margin of error is super low, and that's what makes it so thrilling. I mean, that's why I love to ski race, because those that are composed, those that can really control their emotions and stick to their game plan are often the most successful. And honestly, I think that's a big reason why when I started playing football, it was like, oh yeah, I can run out and kick a football in front of some people cheering. It's not life or death. I'm not going to, break my leg doing it.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Andy Phillips is our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Speaking of that, emotional regulation, Breezy Johnson ends up winning the gold medal after watching a teammate, have her career ended on a catastrophic mistake and crash. What's it like watching a teammate or even just a fellow competitor on that same course go down like that and then having to perform still yourself?
Well, Breezy's in a unique position because she actually had crashed earlier in her career on that same track. And so she, again, knowing somebody in front of you is crashed and then having to sit in the start gate for an extra 15, 20, 30 minutes, you watch the helicopter, carrying off whoever just went down, it's not a good situation. And then, of course, it's a teammate. So Breezy had to control some serious emotion there and composure, but she also knows what it's like to go down on that track. And so for her, there was some redemption, and she had been fast in the training runs. I believe she had won both of the training runs, and so she knew what she was doing. She's a competitor. She's an athlete. She lives here in Salt Lake. In fact, when she skied at Romark Ski Academy, they were one day running stadium stairs, and of course the specialists come trotting over in the golf cart, and we're kicking some field goals. And so I got to chat with her for a little bit, which was really cool. And she knew me from my ski racing days, not necessarily from my football days. And I'm so excited for her. I thought, for her to overcome that, not only Lindsay crashing in front of her, but then also kind of personally overcoming a course that she had been injured on a few years prior, and coming back and being victorious and best in the world. I mean, what an accomplishment.
I do want to pick your brain about at least one football question before I let you go. But, there's been a lot of conversation about Coach Witt moving on to Michigan and what he took with him, and player and coaching personnel now not being part of a Utah program under Morgan in his first year as a full-time head coach. I still believe that Morgan's going to get it figured out. I don't think it's going to be instantaneous, but I'm impressed with Morgan Scalley. There's a lot of similarities between him and Kyle Whittingham, but from your perspective, what do you think is going to be the biggest difference about Utah football under Morgan Scalley versus with Coach Witt?
Oh Oh man, if we want to talk off the field, I think the biggest hire for us, in the alumni world is Bo Nagahe.
How about that? Bo Nagahe,
director
the alumni coordinator. Really cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stoked. I think that's been a huge weak spot in Utah football is pulling in the alumni and, being one now for close to 10 years. It's like, man, we got to step our game up. We can't let other schools in the state outshine us. And so I think Bo will do a great job, and really excited to have him in that position. From an on-field, or I guess more of a coaching perspective, like Coach Witt's his own guy, and not as personable as Coach Scally, not as emotional. And I think we all saw from Coach Scally's press conference the kind of leader that he is and the kind of energy that he brings to the room and attracts. And so having a Utah football program, both on the field with the players and also on the coaching staff that he's put together, that kind of, mesh with that style and with that leadership, with that personability, with that just that energy is going to be. I mean, as media members, I expect you guys at practice to feel a lot more valued, but also be able to feel just an energy shift. And so whether that produces success on the field or not, I think from as a player, that's what you want. You want to be able to feel that energy and see that from your coach. And of course, Morgan's 20 years younger or so than Kyle, but he is a player's coach. And I think that the staff he put around him is also of that same, cut from that same stone. So that's my biggest prediction is it's going to be a different feel, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be high energy. And I think a lot of success will come from it.
It's been a weird winter. How much skiing have you been able to do? How is the skiing? I haven't not been up. I'm not in the snow sports like you. Like, it's been dry, but how's it been?
It has. I'm in the ski racing world still. I coach at Snowbird with Snowbird Ski Education Foundation. I've got all my kids in that program. In fact, the last 2 days we've hosted a couple races up there for our Olympic hopefuls here in Salt Lake. So it was the under 14, under 12, under 10 racers from all around the Intermountain region. And I will tell you this, while the powder skiing has been, hurts the soul, there hasn't been much, if any, this year. From a racing perspective, the kids have had to really work on fundamentals on the groomers and, stay on the hill and not go hit cliffs and ski powder. So that's been a big positive for the skiing. Now, with that being said, I heard a rumor that we'll get about 12 inches or so between today and tomorrow, and then next week 4 feet or so. So with that said, hey, we've got a guy on the roster with with the name of Bird, or at least the nickname of Bird, and I think Snowbird would benefit from getting Bird Ficklin up on the hill, and so I'm gonna try and make that happen. I haven't talked to anybody about it yet, but I want to make that happen.
I want to support you just because I like the idea, but also I don't want Bird Ficklin to hurt himself skiing or snowboarding. So Bird, go up on the hill, but stay on the bunny hill. All right, let's keep it between the beacons.
Hey, I'll take good care of him. All right,
Andy, you're the man. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, OC. Appreciate you guys.
Andy Phillips, the only, probably, I'm going to go out on a limb here, the only former All-American level kicker, all-conference level kicker, or football player at any position that could come on and give you that detailed and knowledgeable of a downhill skiing breakdown. And I don't just mean from the University of Utah. I mean probably from any school. We're lucky to have Andy. Big thanks to him for joining us. All right, Hot Lunch is next. I've got a list for you of Utah football players invited to this year's NFL Scouting Combine. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Oh, boy. The hot lunch today provided by Big Willie's. It is their Hawaiian teriyaki burger. This thing is unbelievable. Little teriyaki barbecue sauce, lettuce, tomato, onion, grilled pineapple slice, perfectly grilled burger patty, of course, and a little bonus meat, which, for me, that's the real winner. When you throw meat on top of meat in a burger, when you add some Canadian bacon, which is indiscernible from ham for me, on top of a burger patty, that's a victory of the highest order.
Oh, man, we got a bunch of calls from Canada upset about what you just said about Canadian bacon and ham.
I mean, if you could explain to me the difference between them, that's great.
Is that, by the way, is that one of those things where, like, French fries aren't really French and Canadian bacon's not? Is Canadian bacon really Canadian? It might not be. I don't know.
It's a good question. I do know this.
Who do we know that's Canadian that we could ask?
Call any of the Utah Mammoth Canada players.
Good point. Bill Armstrong, call us. Let us know.
Give me Dylan Gunther on the phone. This is a phenomenal burger. Also, the onion bun. I appreciate the fact that the bun is not an afterthought at Big Willie's, and they make sure to toast it nicely and add a little flavor to the burger that way. The fries on the side today. We had tots yesterday, fries today, always perfectly salted. And there's just one bonus fry that has that little crispy, over-fried end to it, which I love. It's bad if your whole set of fries is overdone or underdone. You want the one fry that's got like the brown, crispy, almost burnt end.
It's basically a chip instead of a French fry.
Yeah, exactly. And Big Willie's make sure you get all that.
My favorite bonus fry is when you get the home style fries and you get them at a place that has curly fries and you get that and you get the bonus like really curly fry. You're like, "Oh, that's amazing." I wanted home style fries, but I love that I got like the best version of a curly fry just snuck in there.
It's amazing. Big thanks to Big Willie's for providing us the hot lunch. The sports topic for the hot lunch today, I promised you a list of Utah football players that have been invited to this upcoming NFL scouting combine. And this is mostly who you thought it was going to be. There's one name in here that I'm growing more and more excited for what this guy can be at the next level. We didn't talk about him a lot in the run-up to last season. We didn't talk about him, honestly, nearly enough during the season. But Dallin Bentley is a guy who, when you pay attention to what he actually is, like how he's built, the fact that he was a multi-year contributor that over the course of his career became more and more influential, more and more significant to the program. I think there's a lot of NFL talent evaluators that obviously we're talking about the combine here. They're going to be like, whatever, how big is he? How tall is he? How fast is he? That matters most, especially in this context. But the more people you talk to in NFL personnel departments and the more former NFLers we have on, the more personality counts, the more attitude counts. And Dallin Bentley, his experience at Utah is going to be looked on favorably because NFL teams want guys that are not front runners. They want guys that are not quitters. They want guys that have shown commitment at the college level, even in a system where you can bounce around and look for greener pastures. And Dallin Bentley stayed the course at the University of Utah and made himself into one heck of a player in his final year. He is physically a pretty impressive specimen, and he's also a guy that I think is going to benefit greatly from this next roughly 2 months where you're preparing specifically for the combine drills, because he has athleticism, but he's always tried to point that athleticism in the direction of football. Now he's going to be like, oh, all I got to do is practice on my sprint starts and my 3-cone drill and things like that. I think Dallin Bentley could really make a little bit of a splash as kind of a surprise player. So glad he's getting the NFL Combine invite. No surprise that Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu have both been invited. Logan Fano has been invited to the NFL Scouting Combine. This is one, I mean, that's a win for him, in my opinion. Logan is obviously not going to be the marquee Fano name that people are looking at, but a lot of us, myself included, were questioning whether or not now was the right time to enter the Scouting Combine, enter the NFL draft period, because he has eligibility left, and his production, especially with his injury history, was like too fleeting, in my opinion, for the NFL to look favorably upon it. This is good news for Logan Fano, that some of the burst and things that he saw on film caused teams to say, yeah, let's invite this kid as well. Lander Barton also invited to the NFL Scouting Combine. No surprise there. You got two older brothers in the Combine. You are constantly in the headlines as a player to watch. Landers, I know people don't like this storyline with Lander. I think Lander would be well served at the Scouting Combine to run some tight end drills as well. I think that his athleticism translates better on that side of the ball than on the defensive side of the ball. And I fully acknowledge that I was the guy who spent 2 whole off seasons telling you what he was capable of and how he should be an All-American linebacker, and he never came even remotely close to being that. So I realize what me saying this now says about my own opinions. But Dallin Bentley, Spencer Fano, Caleb Lomu, Logan Fano, Lander Barton, your NFL Scouting Combine invitees.
Yeah, going back to Lander Barton, I don't think it's nuts to say that about him, to say, hey, run some drills as a tight end too. Not only because he showed some real promise in that and limited action at the tight end position this year, and that he was an incredible tight end in high school, but also because of what you were just alluding to. He did not quite fulfill his immense potential at linebacker at Utah. He played well enough, but there was a lot more that we thought we would see out of him. So why not show the NFL, hey, I've got some versatility here. If you feel the same about me as linebacker that a lot of people did watching me in college, that left a little bit to be desired, let me show you what I can do at a different position. I mean, why not do that if you're Lander Barton?
And honestly, the people at the Combine might just be like, no.
Yeah, you're a linebacker.
Because they only do it if teams want to see you doing that. I remember, when Nate Orchard was doing his Scouting Combine, and when Jason Faneca, right? Those guys were dedicated pass rushing players at the University of Utah. And in both cases, there were teams that wanted to see what they would look like as a stand-up linebacker. And so it was like, all right, run some linebacker drills. And I remember talking with Jason Faneca actually more about this. Like, he was like 260-something pounds. And they're like, yeah, run some linebacker drills. He's like, what? Okay. That's not necessarily where he thought his greatest potential was, but if teams want to see you do something, then you're going to do it at the Scouting Combine.
And if they don't, then they don't. But what Lander and his agents and his agent and his reps can do is they can try to lobby for that, right? Like, hey, this guy's got some potential at tight end too. You might want to see him showcase some of that too.
And it might be as simple as like, my straight line speed is better than my lateral speed. Like I had troubles in the change of direction, and guys would like whatever. And maybe you have to show that with your 40 versus your, short shuttle, whatever. I wish Lander Barton very, very well at this next level. I hope. I mean, his brothers have stayed in the NFL for a long time. Jackson has been a multi-year backup offensive lineman for several different franchises, even very, very successful franchises like the Kansas City Chiefs. Cody has bounced around a lot, but he's been a starting caliber linebacker in like the last 5 seasons of his NFL career.
Is he with the Broncos still this year?
No, Tennessee.
Tennessee, that's right. He recently with the Broncos, though, as they were building up to what they were doing.
I mean, he also has played for some really good organizations.
Yeah.
So, bummer for him to be with the Seahawks, and then when the Seahawks get back to Super Bowl contention, he's somewhere. But
and then Broncos, same thing.
But at the end of the day, right, and he's carving out a nice little career for himself. He's making, I mean, I think his current contract is like, I'll just look it up. It's nice, you know? And so I want to see something like that for Lander.
He definitely has the ability, the talent to make that for himself. It's just putting it together, right? And maybe he'll get some different coaching will help him put all that together at the next level if he's fortunate enough to get that kind of opportunity. Maybe it'll be some other factor that can unlock something that he wasn't quite able to unlock here at Utah. Injuries were also a part of that too.
Cody Barton's current contract, 3-year, $21 million deal that he signed March of 2025, $13.3 million in total guarantees, and about $7 million a year.
If I got one of those deals, I'd retire. And it's only for 3 years, and it's not even fully guaranteed. I'd be okay, not working another day of my life. See you guys later.
Look, I know that this is reductive, and we do it too often, but like, if you have a $200 million contract, obviously you're fine if you only get like the signing bonus off something like that. If your deal is $13 million guaranteed, and this is what, his third deal in the NFL, like, so he's made some money already. $13 million. Cody Barton's a cowboy. All right? Like, that's what the Barton family is. You
remember Lander telling you guys at media days last year that if he had his druthers, money was no object. He would just spend time at the ranch all day.
And you know what? That might be his future.
Maybe.
Honestly, like, yeah. maybe part of the reason why Lander has not lived up to his potential in football is because his passion is not in football.
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in his mouth, but
he certainly has a passion for just being a rancher.
We all grew up with people, right? We all played with people that were like physically capable of doing way more than we saw them actually achieve. That has been one of my great frustrations as an athlete, actually, first in the football world and then in the fight world, where I would see guys that were way more talented, way more physically impressive than me, not do it. And, of course, because I like to be out of touch with reality, I would always if I had your body, I would make it to the NFL. Or
my work ethic is obviously superior, so if I had your superior body, I would be a Hall of Famer.
If I had your speed and explosiveness and reflexes, I would have been a multiple-time UFC champion, and I would have won 4 PFL $1 million tournaments.
I'd still be fighting.
You know what I mean? Like, you do that when you see people who are physically superior to yourself.
But then underachieve.
And then you're just like, what are you doing, man? Why do you not care as much as I care? Right? And you don't hear that about Lander Barton. People don't say that about him. His coaches have never been like, he doesn't have the want to. He doesn't have the care factor.
We're not saying that either. We're just trying to thread the needle of saying, hey, he's more talented than what he showed at Utah.
And by the way, the NFL scouting combine for Lander Barton very specifically, right? Like, Lomu's got great tape, and I promise you, when his little player profile, that we will read all of them, when his player profile comes out, it's going to do the same thing it always does with guys like him. Needs to add strength, needs to add size, have more, point of attack type stuff, great pass sets, quick hands, nimble feet. It's going to be all that. Same thing for Spencer Fano. Outland Trophy winner, doesn't have a lot of holes in his game, but could add this, could add that, right? Lander Barton is going to be the type of project that NFL coaches, just like all the college coaches, they look at his frame, they look at his body, they're going to see his measurables, and they're going to be like, I want that.
I can make him into something.
Watch what I can do with that. And people are going to be like, well, Colton Swan at Utah is a really dang good coach. You think you can get more out of him than Colton Swan? And every NFL coach is going to be like, yep.
Like, all due respect to Colton Swan, but who dat? I can do better than that.
So Lander, I think, is going to be one of those guys that people are just like, dude, look how tall, look how rangy, look how long-armed this guy is.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be a linebacker with like 10.5-inch hands. They're going to be like, this dude, maybe he would be a better tight end. I don't know. But
there's a joke in NBA media of, you're on so-and-so island, as in, I still believe this guy is going to be a star. I still believe this guy is going to be a 10-year pro. Even though he's been terrible, he hasn't, maybe not terrible, but he hasn't lived up to expectations. Like Dante Exum around here, Exum Island was a big thing, right? And even among NBA media, I'm still on Exum Island, man. Look at him, he can be great, and he just never panned out. He's never panned out the way that a lot of us thought he would in the NBA. Lander Barton's one of those potential NFL players that I'm on Lander Barton Island, man. I still think he can be awesome, and hopefully he is. Hopefully he is awesome, has a better NFL career than he had in college.
BYU has two players heading to the NFL scouting combine. Jack Kelly and Chase Roberts are the BYU invitees. Now, LJ Martin could have been invited.
Yeah, he would be there if he didn't go back.
Instead, he's coming back to play and be a problem again at the college football level.
He could be a dark horse Heisman candidate
next year. Okay. But the count for Big 12 schools, Texas Tech with 8 players invited, TCU with 5, Utah with 5, Arizona State, Baylor, and Cincinnati 4 each, Arizona and Kansas 3, BYU, Houston, Kansas State, and UCF 2. Iowa State, only 1 player invited. Colorado, Oklahoma State, West Virginia, big old goose egg. Nobody invited from any of those schools to the NFL scouting combine. Now, if you're Oklahoma State, ouch. If you're West Virginia, ouch. If you're Colorado and the entirety of your recruiting pitch is based on we are an NFL pipeline school, you're going to be coached by NFL Hall of Famers, and we're going to get you ready for the league, and they don't even have a single guy going to the combine? Blah.
You believe now, OC?
That sucks.
Yeah.
All right, way over
terrible.
time here. We'll get to a lot more on the Sean O'Connell Show. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. If you're watching on the YouTube, you just saw me get some fry sauce from the hot lunch on my tan sweatshirt. That's not ideal. It's not what we wanted to have happen. All right, spent way too much time on the list of Utah football players that are headed to the NFL scouting combine. I started the show today talking about the very strange, in my opinion, backlash against the Utah Jazz these last couple of days about their tanking method and the willful ignorance about other teams that are currently tanking in the NBA also. Just being like, well, the Wizards aren't doing it like that. You're right. The Wizards are doing it in a more obvious and traditional way where they just shut down their best players that they recently acquired.
A more egregious way, by the way. This is what the Jazz got fined for last year, is shutting down players that are actually probably healthy.
At the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out from a sports fan perspective how you feel about, quote unquote, the integrity of sport and what threatens it versus what doesn't. What's something that bothers you that you're seeing in sports right now? So on Twitter, or you can text it to me, 877-353-0700. What is the actual greatest threat to the integrity of the NBA and other sports? Load management, I put as an option. Betting, it currently has 51% of the vote. Tanking, whether you like the Jazz's method or the traditional method, tanking is something that some people really do dislike and feel like it is detrimental to the sport and the integrity of the sport. And then about 6% with other, and people mentioned the cap circumvention, like what the Clippers did, trying to pay players outside of the rules. This from Utah Mammoth. Majority of players in the NBA look like they'd rather be elsewhere than on the court. No defense, guys chucking up threes, referees blatantly biased towards stars. That's what's ruining the game. Officiating could be one of those things. Tampering is more of a conversation right now in college sports than in pro sports, but tampering has been a problem in pro sports also. Like, what is the biggest threat for you, if there is a threat to the integrity of the sport? If you even think that integrity of the game is a phrase that fits in American sports right now, what is the biggest threat to it? What is the biggest thing that could damage that? Let me know what you think. 877-353-0700. Got to take a quick one again. The Daily Dump is coming up next. We have a vast array of different sports. And turns out that one of the big beefs that Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors had is something that I would 1,000,000% be guilty of. We'll get to that in the Daily Dump, brought to you by Valley Plumbing. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. couple responses to the question I asked before the break here as we get into the Daily Dump. Valley Plumbing is now also ready to handle your HVAC problems. Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Air. The truck with the duck will take care of your furnace, your vents, and all the pipes in your house. Look for the truck with the duck and tell them that OC sent you. This from Tyson on the text line. The biggest threat to college sports is NIL because super teams will result in lower level play and lack of real competition. Hopefully it will put a cap on spending. The lawyers ain't going to let that happen, but I don't disagree 100% with what you're saying. Derek on the text line says load management is the biggest threat to the integrity of the sports. LeBron made it popular. Kawhi made it an art. That's a fair way to assess. 2677 says, I have exactly zero interest in the NBA. Entitled guaranteed contracts is a part of the problem. Resting of players, especially stars, tanking defeats what competition is. The NBA is a show, not sports. So this is actually a topic that has come up a lot in boxing, in MMA. Is this a real sport, or is this just an avenue of entertainment that people have kind of put into the sports category? And the argument is that, like in combat sports, there's not really a uniform ranking system. Nobody does tournaments anymore at PFL. Who I work for was the last to do like a bona fide tournament where it's not matchmaking, it's not manipulated. It's not like, hey, let's give this guy a path to the title with easier fights, or, let's try to get this particular audience by having a champion who's from South America or from, Africa or from Europe. We haven't had a Conor McGregor in a while, so the European audience is going away. Let's build somebody. Oh, here's Paddy Pimblett. There's all these conversations that happen in the MMA world and in the boxing world about marketability and what you're trying to create. And some people say, yeah, that means it's not a sport, because a real sport, it just figures itself out. Competition determines who the champion is and nothing else. So at least for this texter, the NBA is getting to be that way also, which is unfortunate. All right, let's get into the Daily Dump stories here. I have to start with this one because I teased it, but, we have these relationships between players, coaches, players, GMs, players, ownership in pro sports that seem all fine, and then they go south. They sour. And Jonathan Kuminga was a great example of this with the Golden State Warriors. In an organization where everybody seemed to kind of get along, excel, and they would figure it out, Kuminga didn't fit for whatever reason. He always wanted out, and he would demand a trade, and then they would kind of smooth things over, and they would figure out a better way. In any case, Jonathan Kuminga, the report is out now that one of the reasons why it got petty and contentious between Jonathan Kuminga and the Golden State Warriors is because when tensions started to escalate, someone in the organization informed Jonathan Kuminga that someone attached to him was taking too much food from the family VIP room at team hotels and at Warrior games. Now, if I had a sibling, or if my wife was like a WNBA player or a professional athlete in any capacity, this would be a problem that my loved one would have to deal with. I would guarantee that if my wife or my brother or whoever was employed by some professional sports franchise as a competitor, they would be like, hey, I got an email from our arena events manager, and he said that they caught you on camera stuffing like taquitos into your pockets in the family VIP room. Could you not do that anymore? Or like the all-you-can-eat the Toyota Club stuff, you're not supposed to take a to-go box in there and fill it up. This would be a problem. I would create this problem for a Jonathan Kuminga in my life. So do I think it's petty and dumb that a multi-billion-dollar business and an owner and a group that is they've been the beneficiaries of like not only some of the most expensive tickets and sold out attendance in recent history in the NBA, a very loyal fan base, a brand new arena in the city, all these great things. And like you're already a billionaire. If I take 3 extra slices of pizza and put them in my fridge at home from the family room, don't bother Jonathan Kuminga about it, all right? This one, shockingly, I'm on the side of the player, and more specifically, I'm on the side of the player's associate, family member, whoever it was, that took too much food out of the family VIP room.
Yeah, I'm one that has ruffled feathers before taking too much free food. So I'm also one that's like, I don't understand what the huge deal is here. It's you said the food was free.
Okay, so I got to tell you a story. When I was working for SiriusXM, Jeff Schwartz and I would get invited to the coaches' dinner for the Pac-12 conference at Pac-12 Media Days. Before the actual media day, they would have a coaches' dinner.
Oh, the night before.
The night before. And they would have a really, we'd go to a really nice steakhouse most of the time, and they would have this delicious meal, and they had assigned seating. They would put media member next to coach, and then there would be like a conference dignitary, like one season, 1 year, I sat with the head of officiating, and I sat with Jed Fish, and I sat with Clay Helton, and the significant other of the coach is always invited to the dinner, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so then the year that, remember, USC and UCLA announced that they were leaving, like right before when Pac-12 Media Days was going to happen. And then, of course, the following year, Colorado announced they were leaving literally right the day after Pac-12 Media Days. But the year before, when USC and UCLA began to destabilize the Pac-12 conference, they canceled the dinner. And they made it like a reception kind of thing, like hors d'oeuvres, and stand around and open bar for anyone who wants to. It was not a fancy restaurant anymore. It was a VIP reception type situation. So they had people walking around with these hors d'oeuvres on plates. They had the side tables that were full. There was an ice sculpture, but no like sit down full dinner, right? Well, for your boy, I'm hungry. So everyone else is mixing and mingling and hanging around at this like cocktail hour. And I'm like, where's the food? I'm starving. They canceled the dinner on me. I'm here to get my money's worth, which doesn't make sense because I didn't pay anything for it, out of these hors d'oeuvres, right? And I firmly believe, James, that I probably like made myself persona non grata. I think that the Pac-12 people, any of the Fox Network people, any like the ESPN people, anyone that was there was probably just like, who is that guy?
Why is he eating everything?
Because I ate everything. I ate 10 of everything, right? And the only thing that made me feel better is a guy who is no longer with us. Well, he's with us. I just sounded like he's alive. I just
he's
sounded
alive.
Like he's dead. He's no longer part of the Utah anything. He's now off to Michigan.
Oh, okay.
The only other person that was going ham on the hors d'oeuvres at this place, literally, everyone else was there. Like Gus Johnson's there, Joel Klatt's there, Colin Cowherd's there, Jeff Schwartz is there. He's a huge man. He's having like one little tiny croissant.
You told this story when you were talking about his disdain for events like that and parties.
Yes.
The mandatory parties he has to go to, about how he doesn't even really eat very much at these places.
There were 2 people in the room that were making sure the food did not go to waste. One of them was me, and the other one was Kyle Whittingham.
They should have thanked you.
We were the only ones who were eating a ton.
They should have come up to you and said, "We're so grateful for you two because we were worried we were going to have to throw all this away."
Like Brady Quinn's there, Mark Sanchez is there. Every one of these people is looking at me like, "What is wrong with this dude?" It's probably why I will never have a national. I'm going to tell myself this. I'll never have a national media job in college football because people are going to be like, oh, he's the dude that had 57 pork belly sandwiches.
Hors d'oeuvres.
It was me.
It's funny they didn't say that about Kyle Whittingham. Why are they making an example out of you?
Dude, and
You're
I
not
tell you
the
what,
only one doing it. Back to the Jazz tanking conversation.
We were standing there. I remember very distinctly. We're standing there. I'm talking with him and Chip Kelly. Okay, we're standing there, and the same young lady in the little waiter vest comes by with the plate, and they had these meatballs. I think they were like a teriyaki meatball or something. They had these meatballs just with a toothpick in it. Not a regular toothpick. It's those long, weird bamboo-style toothpicks that have the curly Q in them.
Fancy toothpick.
Yeah. And she comes by. I grab one. He grabs one. Gulp. One bite each. That's what they're for. Wow, those are really good.
One bite. Everyone knows the rules.
She goes around the room again. Nobody else takes any. She comes back to us. The same exact plate minus only the 2 meatballs that we ate. You guys want another one? I was like, yeah. He grabs one, I grab one. She walks back. Nobody else wants one. She just comes back. She's like, do you guys want all these? I'm like, yeah, put them on the table. We ate the whole meatball plate.
You and Whit.
Me and Whit. And Chip Kelly was just standing. He didn't have any.
Did you guys fist bump at any point?
No.
When you were the only ones doing this?
I did make a comment, though. I'm like, these are pretty good. He was like, yeah, these are good. Man can eat. All right.
No,
So I would be the one that made Jonathan Kuminga get a sternly worded email.
And then get traded.
And then and just destabilize his relationship with the organization.
No, this is another area where you and I can relate, OC, because I've been that guy that in some situations people are like, well, you're just gonna eat all of that? And I'm like, what? It's still available to me, and yes, I'm still hungry, or yeah, that's really good. I'm gonna have another one there. So yeah, I've also been. I would also probably be that family member that gets someone in trouble.
Yeah. I'm not ashamed to be such a glutton, and I should be, and that's where I run into trouble.
I'm reading the boy the boy Hunger Games right now.
Oh, what?
Yeah, just a few pages at a time.
Wait, what?
Just a few pages at a time.
He's not even a year old.
Hey, he can still listen, absorb it. I don't know.
That's heavy source material for someone that age.
We're reading. It's only a few pages at a time.
You need to put that boy on Good Dog Carl.
Well, we're reading all those too.
Okay, all right.
I'm not only reading him chapter books here.
And then, son, Katniss murdered the other child.
No, so we're at book 1, but this makes me think of Catching Fire, book 2, when they're at the party and the prep team is like, here, drink this, it'll make you less full, and it's just something to make them throw up so they can fit more food in.
Yeah,
we are the capital people in that sense.
I would have killed it in ancient Rome, where they had the vomitorium. You would go to the feast, and then you just bulimia, and then you come back and eat more. I would have fit in well there.
Yeah.
In modern day society, I commit repeated faux pas and embarrass the folks around me.
Apparently, that's a faux pas.
All right, moving on in the Daily Dump here. So this one's actually interesting, and James, I'm glad you put me on this because for whatever reason, I didn't get the official press release email, but the Big 12 basketball tournaments are going to be played on a graphics court. Imagine you have the world's largest flat screen television, and you just lay it down and you play basketball on top of it.
So 2 years ago, the All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game in Indianapolis, they had the Saturday night and the Rising Stars Challenge on a court like this. So if you tuned in any of that, you've seen something like this already. The Big 12's doing something similar.
So I have actually a connection to this. The first 6 years of my time with the PFL, the guy who was the executive producer in the truck, right? He was the guy who ran the entire broadcast in the truck. So he's the voice in my ear when I'm calling the fights. He's the director of what's going on. All right, we're going to commercial here. All right, you got to read this sponsor, read whatever. He's serving the same role you serve on this show, right?
Yeah.
But he's in a truck and he's coordinating cameras and doing all this stuff. So that guy is also, an idea man of sorts. And this is his thing. He's been working on this for 20 years, getting an LED court that you can play actual competitive basketball on, or you could play pickleball on it. You could play tennis on it, and you could do whatever you want.
Olympic volleyball.
You could show graphics. His idea was that it would be something for like, what's the big three? What's the 3-on-3 basketball league?
Yeah, Big
What's it
Three,
called?
and the women's one is unrivaled.
Yeah. Like, they're doing all this crazy stuff, like his idea was you could have, because it's an LED floor and you can put any image on it at any time in any spot, that you would have hot spots that were now 4-point shots.
Yeah.
Where like players don't know when it's going to happen or where it's going to happen, but there's a green spot on the
and
court
it only
now.
stays up for like 30 seconds or something.
And then you change it, right?
A couple minutes at a time.
So he's got all these like ideas of how you could do this cool stuff, and visually it's very stunning. It's a really cool thing, and a lot of people did see it at the All-Star Challenge, All-Star Game a couple of years ago. But this is the first practical use of it. This is the first time that real basketball is going to be played on it. Competition basketball at the Big 12 basketball tournaments on an interactive floor that you can show the like individual stat lines of players under their feet. You could have the highlights running.
The highlight of the last play while they're going into the next play.
And look,
they're not going to do stuff.
They're not going to do stuff like that.
But they'll do
right now
something stunning.
But pregame and halftime and all that stuff is when you're going to see a lot of this cool stuff.
The Jazz and other teams have done this, college and pro. It's not an LED court, but something that you see at Mammoth games too, the projection onto the court or onto the ice during starting lineups, which is really cool what they're doing. The Jazz games, they put the mountains on there, and I remember the first time seeing it at the Delta Center was actually when they had Bear Torney's face on the ice when they were announcing him as part of the roster announcements before the game.
Yeah.
And they did that for Will Hardy too, and it was like, imagine that, but it's not a projection from the top of the building. It's actually in the court.
Right. So it can't be blocked by obstructions like people being on top of the court and then the laser light show cannot be seen on the court. It's actually coming from the court itself. And you could do some really cool stuff with it. Like maybe, let's say you get to the conference championship game, right? And the court is Big 12 branded. And then you're just like, who's the home team? Kansas is the home team. Suddenly, it has the look of the court from Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah, you could. Hey, this is the Allen Fieldhouse court. Utah won't be the home team in this year's Big 12 tournament, but here's the Huntsman Center
How
court.
Cool would that be?
BYU,
right?
Here's Marriott Center court.
So I think it's neat. This is the first real life test of it being done with actual competition, and I'm happy for my guy. I'm proud of my guy. He's gonna get like. So what happened was, I'll give you even more insight on this.
Speaking of the NBA All-Star Game a couple years ago, right?
So he's got the patent for the United States, right? And there's this German company that German patent and American patents, they don't like directly conflict, cross, whatever. So you could build this thing in Germany and use it in Germany without a patent violation in the United States.
Even if it's the exact copy.
If it's the exact same thing.
They stole the plans and built their own thing, it's no violation. Yeah.
As long as it stays in Germany.
Yeah.
But this company basically stole the plan, made this thing. He had already been granted the patent, et cetera, et cetera. And then they were like, oh, look, this is – and I think it was the Orlando Magic has like one of these in their practice facility or something. And he was like, hey, guys, you screwed up. You should not have put that in the United States. Like, this is my patent in the United States.
You have to compensate me, you have to use mine.
Like, you have to use mine, or we can do a licensing deal where I license this patent to you. You manufacture the floor, you install the floor, you think, but this is my technology. This is my invention in the United States. And so, like, the legalese of it, you can do a lot. I found out that there's a thing if a patent is violated, actually every player that stepped onto that and used that floor was in violation of the patent.
Ooh.
So technically, you could, if like LeBron practice on that floor, if you wanted to, which of course nobody ever would in practicality, pick that fight.
You could go after LeBron.
You could sue LeBron for an illegal, whatever.
Legal use, I guess.
Copyright infringement. He participated in it, right? So at the end of the day, this is going to be like a thing where this company that's doing this, ASB glass floor, they got to write a check to my guy. How cool is that?
Shout out to your former producer.
Shout out to Brett Yormark for getting my guy paid. Thank you for adopting this.
Now, let me ask you this, because as cool as this is, I'm not sure. So did you hear Brett Yormark, or you see in social media, he like really teased this, like I think it was last week. He's like this is going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen in college basketball. No other conference is doing what we're going to do at Big 12. I'm not sure this lives up to that tease, but it is really cool.
I will say this. This is kind of like when Oregon became the first team that did the wild uniform thing, right? People were like, oh, wow, we haven't seen this much before. And then everybody started to copy it.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those things.
Conference tournaments are going to be this.
Everyone's going to copy this stuff.
Or everyone's practice court.
Whether you need to or not, everyone is going to be like, well, if they have one of those, I want one of those.
Well, it's literally a big, flashy, shiny thing,
dude,
that you can be like, look how cool this is, and everyone be like, yeah, we want to be cool too. So
imagine you're Alex Jensen and you're trying to recruit somebody to come to the University of Utah, right? For years, I mean, since the beginning of time, they've been doing the thing where they walk someone into the Huntsman Center. And now starting for your University of Utah running Utes, number 33, James Peterson. Like they have the voice. They have Bill Riley cut that or whatever.
Yes.
You play it over the loudspeakers.
Where do I sign, Alex Jensen?
Right. They've been doing that forever. Now imagine you could walk this guy into your practice facility or out onto the Huntsman floor.
Your face is on the court.
And it's you, like, you're watching on the floor yourself running up and down in a Utah uniform. Your face is there.
They made some AI video of a national championship winning
come on,
3-pointer at the buzzer of me. Yeah.
Like are you telling me that BYU is not going to purchase one of these things as soon as they see it played on?
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
That's what's going to happen.
So I think it's different. It's interesting. At the end of the day, the concern has been, well, what happens if, a 280-pound 7-footer falls onto this court? Is he going to crack the LED tiles? Is he going to, destroy this thing?
If there's a big crack that happens, since it's glass, is it going to cut up his face?
Well, but they've got – I think it's really like a polymer that goes over the top.
Yeah, okay.
In any case, they've tested this over and over and over again to where the Big 12 is now saying, all right, this is competition worthy, and we're going to be the first ones. A real competitive basketball game has not been played on this thing. Not a real one. They've been exhibition games. They've been –
the highest profile, again, has been the NBA All-Star game.
Yeah, they've been Harlem Globetrotter situations. They've been doing
preliminary stuff.
That kind of stuff. This is the first time. And the Big 12's doing it. Now, whether you end up loving it or not, and – you will find bigger fans of Brett Yormark out there than me. But I do give the guy credit for thinking outside of the box and trying to figure out ways. How can this help the Big 12 from a meaningful standpoint? Well, if a brand is out there and Sprite is just like, I want that to be my court.
Let's make the entire court green and the Sprite logo all over it.
I want this, right?
Right. Or Starry, I think, because the NBA's got big contract. Well, this isn't NBA,
but you know what I mean?
Big contract with Pepsi.
Brands can really engage with something like this in a way that hopefully will bring more money in to the Big 12.
Is the court, since they got the partnership with the WWE, is it just going to be a big WWE championship belt?
I mean, it could be. That's the thing. The thing that's beautiful about it is it could be that 1 second, and then it could be the Big 12 championship court the very next second, and then it could be a preview for the new Jurassic Park 8 the very next second. Yeah. Like, that's why this thing could be really neat from an advertising in-arena experience kind of perspective.
It's not unlike the Sphere, but it's inside, right? How they change the Sphere every day or every few hours to something crazy cool on the outside, but it's inside. Yeah, that's
kind of neat.
It's gonna be cool looking for sure. I'm curious to see what it looks like, and that's coming up a month from now is when the men's tournament starts. Women's tournament about 3.5 weeks away, so we'll see that soon.
You ever been to a Chicago Bears game?
No.
You been to Chicago?
I have not been to Chicago either.
Okay, it's a cool city.
Yeah, I'd love to go.
And it'd be one of those things where I'm like, hey, go to Chicago in the fall, go to a Bears game.
Yeah, if the Cubs are in the playoffs, go check out a Cubs game at Wrigley.
Yeah, or even if you don't want to go in the fall and go to a Bears game, definitely go to.
Yeah.
Now, if I told you, hey, James, you want to go to a Bears game? And you're like, yeah. Be like, all right, I'm buying you a plane ticket. I'm sending you a Bears game. You'd be like, cool, I get to go.
I've never been to Chicago.
I get to go to, and I said, here's the thing. I'm actually sending you to Des Moines, Iowa.
Which is, well, that's close to Chicago at least, right? I could just.
It's not.
Oh.
No. So, Iowa, the state of Iowa right now, the state of Indiana also.
At least those places border Illinois, I guess.
They are, yeah. They're. If you're looking at a map,
putting the Chicago Bears in Salt Lake City,
Indiana's to the right of Illinois, and Iowa's to the left of Illinois.
Yeah,
like
east and west.
Illinois is sandwiched between these two things, right? Iowa and Indiana are both trying to offer aggressive tax incentives and arena incentives to lure the Chicago Bears now to Iowa or to Indiana, because they're moving out of Soldier Field, which is, for me, a bummer, because the placement of Soldier Field
is perfect
on the shores of Lake Michigan, backdrop of the Chicago skyline right there. It is next door to the Field Museum. I mean, it is amazing.
It's a perfect spot.
But like every other NFL franchise, like every other franchise in every league, they're just like, no, we need something bigger, newer, better, brighter. And Iowa, of all places, is just like, we can give you that. We will let you build your stadium on real estate that our state will give you for free.
And they say, part of their pitch is, this is heaven.
That, for those of you who are not into James's obscure movie reference, he's talking about Field of Dreams.
Is this heaven? Yes.
It's
why don't you move the Braves, or why don't you use the Braves? Why don't you move the Bears here? Move the Atlanta Braves too, whatever.
A bill in the Iowa State Senate was introduced Tuesday seeking an expansion of economic growth attraction program with the goal of luring an NFL franchise to the state, specifically the Chicago Bears. This is Carrie Grunhagen, which is a perfect name for anyone from the state of Iowa. While Illinois and Indiana squabble over this issue, we're ready to get off the sidelines and into the game. Off the sidelines and into the game, crumble cookies from the top rope. Let's go.
I can't believe they used that line. Oh,
bringing an NFL team to Iowa would attract jobs, tourism, and fans to our state. Give us the opportunity to showcase what Iowa really has to offer. Iowans are dedicated to college sports teams, and we're ready to attract professional team to our great state.
We need to get on the phone and talk to some people OC as soon as we can to find out if Cookie Man is also from Iowa, and if there's some kind of connection there, because that's a direct quote. That'd be amazing.
So
the DP show, they were talking about this Dan Patrick show this morning before us. They they were saying, hey, remember, and I didn't know this. I was a little too young, not much of an NFL fan yet, but remember before they built Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, there was rumors that the Patriots were going to move to Hartford, Connecticut. They were talking because they're based in Connecticut. They're talking about that. Remember that? And DP was like, I knew they were never going there, but so many people were like, they're going there. Anyway, reminded him of that.
So now the funny thing is, right? Where do you put a stadium, an NFL stadium in Iowa? If you're going now, you could go Iowa City.
Didn't you say it was Des Moines? Is what
you could go Des Moines? That would make the most sense. Des Moines is the largest city.
Des Moines.
All these senators are getting way out. There's a man from Bettendorf. Now, most people that listen to our show probably have no idea what specifically Eastern Iowa is like. I can tell you, it is Field of Dreams. It is cornfields. It is farmland. It's beautiful. It's picturesque. It's quaint. It's lovely.
Plenty of space for a stadium.
But it's literally cornfields in every direction. Gentle rolling hills in a lot of cases. Sometimes there's a limestone bluff that you can see. Bettendorf, Iowa is part of the Quad Cities that's right on the Mississippi River. This is the senators like, hey, Bettendorf is perfect. You can drive people from Wisconsin. It's driving distance from Chicagoland, from St. Louis, from Des Moines, from Madison, Wisconsin, and it is. It's like less than 2 hours from each of those places. It is the equivalent, of putting an NFL stadium in Cedar City, Utah. Bettendorf is like the
shout out to Cedar.
The biggest thing in Bettendorf is a dog food plant. I think Alpo's headquarters are there. The whole town smells like it.
Oh.
It's the wildest thing. Iowa. And I've spent my grandparents, both my parents are from Dubuque, Iowa, which is like 45 minutes away from what he's talking about here, Bettendorf. It's right on the border. It's right on the river, right? You fly to Chicago. You drive 3 hours. You're in my parents' hometown, or my grandma still lives there. A lot of my aunts and uncles, cousins, etc. These people do not want an NFL team. Like
they want heaven to stay the same. Okay?
They already love the Bears, and they drive to Chicago for the Bears, and then they come back to their little farm community because that's what they want. Anyway,
hey OC, what counterpoint? Have the Bears tried to tell them people will come
if you build it?
If you build it, they will come.
Now, the only thing this is not to be taken all that seriously.
They'd be like, yeah, we don't want that, Chicago Bears. We don't want people to come.
But we know this. The greed of billionaires is undefeated. So if you can offer somebody free real estate for a stadium, if you can offer someone tax incentives, tax money to help build a stadium, where in Chicago there's a lot more political crap you have to get through.
They're not being very successful lobbying the state legislature for that.
It's kind of like
city council.
It's kind of like how Portland wanted a baseball team for 10 years, and Utah comes in and is just like, no, we're going to take that.
We actually, look at this. We already signed legislation.
We already have approvals.
Everything's done.
We have a family that's willing to give a bunch of money. We've got a location for it. And Portland is just like, we can't even decide if we want to call it baseball. Or we have to give it a more politically correct name. You know what I mean? Like, it's that. So if Iowa can get something, they're not going to get it across the finish line, but if they can get it done-ish, close to done, to where there's a little flirtation going on here. If Iowa can get an NFL franchise, you know who deserves one? Salt Lake City, baby. Let's go.
Already got the stadium.
Let's go. We do?
Why not just put it at Rice Eccles?
Oh, yeah. That's okay. All right. That's James's idea, not mine. Anyway, we're way over time.
They don't play games on Sunday at Rice Eccles. It'd work out just fine.
Well, I don't think the NFL would sign off on a 1,000 seat capacity.
Okay, NFL owner, big shot. Pay for more seats then. Let's go.
You could make the north end zone a lot taller.
Yeah.
All right, James, maybe you're onto something.
This is heaven.
We got to double up here. We're going to come back. We're going to do a little Between the Pipes with Adrian Denny, our Utah Mammoth, now Olympic hockey insider. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Well, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Adrian Denny. Between the Pipes, brought to you by Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer. Adrian here in our Broadway studios. Welcome back, sir. How are you?
I'm great, Sean. How are you, man?
I'm doing all right. Are you comfortable in transitioning for a couple of weeks from the role of Utah Mammoth insider to Olympic hockey and, of course, Nordic skiing insider?
All over it.
Okay.
All over it. I've got my cross-country skiing report right here in my notes app, and brushed up on the Olympic stuff. Just had a game today. Slovakia beat Finland 4-1. First upset in the first game. Had a couple players who were in training camp with the Utah Hockey Club last year, Milos Kelemen and Patrick Koch on that Slovakia
On the
team.
Slovakia squad.
So
Finland coming into this tournament was kind of, seen as a upper tier team, right? So how big of an upset is this?
Gosh, Finland was picked fourth in terms of, best chances to win the gold medal behind Canada, the U.S., Sweden, and ahead of Czechia. So Slovakia wasn't in the other receiving votes category there, and that they go in and win by a count of 4-1. It was a bizarre game. Shots in the contest were heavily favoring Finland, but you know how it is. Sometimes pucks are going in for you.
All right, before we get to all of the Olympic stuff, I do want to talk about this Utah Mammoth squad and kind of where they're at right now on the break. Obviously, only 4 or 5 players are active during the Olympic break representing their nations. We'll get to that as well. But this team is, I think, playing itself into a nice little rhythm, and maybe this break does not do the Utah Mammoth a huge amount of favors right now because of the kind of hockey they were playing. Now, you will know better than I whether the rest is going to be a good thing or the interruption of that momentum could end up being problematic. But this is a squad that you sent us some notes. 12-5-2 from Christmas to the Olympic break. So playing some good hockey right now.
Yeah, we've got one case study to look at, which is last year, the Four Nations break, which was about 2 weeks. This year we have a full 3 weeks. Utah came out of the Four Nations break last year pretty good. They went 14-8-4 the rest of the way. They lost their first game to LA. That's the big difference this year. Is last year Utah started on the road. This year they're back at home with the Avs 2 weeks from tonight, but they were able to come out and get going, kind of pick up where they left off. They were playing pretty good going into that Four Nations break. They'd won 3 of their last 4 and had a really nice trip before that. So that's, I guess, what we'll base it on. But coming back out of the Olympic break, Logan Cooley could be back. If not that first game, that first week, expecting him back if all goes well. Alexander Kerfoot, your veteran presence of over 600 games, who's just a great utility guy to do everything and really help. Kind of like a guy you'd acquire at the trade deadline to be part of a playoff run. You're going to be getting him back from injury, and he's been hurt twice this year. He's only played 9 games, which is out of character. Last year, he had a stretch of 400-plus straight games played before an illness in April kept him out of the first game of the year. So a guy you expect to be back and be in your lineup. So they're at a good spot, 4 points above that playoff line, which is essentially 5 because they've got the tiebreaker, which is regulation wins above the LA Kings.
When you get Logan Cooley back, I mean, what's a realistic expectation for how long it takes him to reintegrate and start feeling like he's where he was before the injury?
This stretch where the Mammoth are essentially going to have another training camp because they're going to start practicing again early next week with, of course, the 4 Olympic guys still there. But they're going to have essentially, 8 days before they play again of a mini training camp. And Logan Cooley was skating with the team as they went into break and practicing. So that was a great sign. So if he can be part of some regular practices for a week, that'll definitely help the transition of him coming back versus just dropping him right into the middle of a homestand against Colorado. So that practice time will definitely be big. He's missed almost half of the season so far for the Mammoth. 28 straight games. He's been out of the lineup over 2 months. So it was good to see him practicing in in regular sessions last week, but I think that mini training camp will be a big part of getting him back into the swing of it and kind of returning maybe at more of a regular pace with the team, who has not going to be having played for 3 weeks either when they return in a couple weeks against the Avs at the Delta Center.
Adrian Denny, our guest here for some Between the Pipes. Also brought to you by the Truck with the Duck, Valley Plumbing and HVAC, plumbing, heating, and air now, all in the purview of the Truck with the Duck. We talked about this last week, the benefit / risk of having a guy playing Olympic hockey. Everyone has to be given the opportunity to represent their country. I don't know how much the plan is early to use Clayton Keller. I would hate to see him be there in Milan Cortina and not actually be playing and contributing to this team. But with him specifically as the lone member of Team USA, how much use is he going to get? How much wear is he going to be putting on the tires during this Olympic break?
Well, as you said, it looks like he's going to be the odd man out for Team USA when they open up tomorrow against Latvia. They play Denmark on Saturday, right? They're going to be heavily favored in both of those games. So do we see him kind of put the guys in that didn't play on Thursday when they play on Saturday against Denmark? Could see that and see if there's some things they like better than they saw in the first game, and then the big one with Germany on Sunday. So 2 tune-ups, and then you got J.J. Peterka, Leon Draisaitl, Tim Stützle of Ottawa coming up on Sunday. So we'll see what it is. He wasn't part of the Four Nations face-off team last year, right? So that's as they assemble their lineup, probably something they're keeping into account, like keeping the same guys that were there in the opening lineups. But you'll have the pool play, and then if they're in the top 4, they won't have to play an elimination game, and then you go into an 8-team tournament. So I was thinking he would probably be ready to go for the first game, but it's not looking like he's going to be in the lineup.
All right, let's talk about the rest of the lineup for Latvia and beyond. But this is a team now. It's been built maybe to beat Canada. It's kind of a top of the podium or bust, and easier said than done when we're talking about the Canadians, who are, possessed of at least 5 of the best players in the NHL right now on that roster. So we'll start with Latvia, though. How do you make sure you start this tournament off right? You don't go the way of Finland and let an upset happen, etc.
I don't think they really have to worry about it. Is that an acceptable answer?
It's dismissive of the Latvians, and all of our Latvian listeners are very upset right now.
It sure is. Gosh, they've all been working for this for the last year and years to be at the Olympics. You got to figure kind of that adrenaline is kind of going to be like an opening night feel, juice in the building. They feel energy. I think against Latvia and Denmark they're fine. Against Germany, that'll be a fun game to see on Sunday. Team USA, they reconstructed 1 year later after losing to Team Canada in overtime at the Four Nations face-off to combat the Canadians. They left off Jason Robertson, who's the top U.S.-born scorer in the NHL. He's 10th in scoring, not on the roster. Cole Caulfield from Montreal, another pure goal scorer, a USA boy that's not on the roster. So they built their team to be strong third line, fourth line. For Keller, you figure he's a top 6 guy. And defensively, to combat the Canadians' goaltending, I think they've got the advantage. So I think they feel good. But those first 2 games to me are like, if you want to equate it to something that we see is a college basketball preseason game, just to be honest.
All right, fair enough.
Against an NAIA team or a bunch of all-stars from who knows what.
How consistent do you expect the lines to be over the kind of pool play games in this tournament? Are they going to experiment a lot, or should we see what most of us predict?
I think in the first 2 games you might see some mixing and matching,
right.
And then from that point on, you're going with the lineup to win with, and it's to win gold, to get there in the easiest possible path, and everybody's one team, whether they're in the top 6, not in the lineup, etc. So it's a different spot for some guys like Clayton Keller, who are used to captaining their team, captaining Team USA at the World Championships, to not be in the lineup. But you never know if he's playing that Saturday there against Denmark. See if he can win a spot.
Who do you trust more, Hellebuck or Ottinger right now?
Do you know what? Jeremy Swayman has the best numbers. That's the funny part of it. The Boston goalie. Hellebuck hasn't had a great year. His analytics are good still. His goals saved above expected. Ottinger's on a better team with Dallas. So in terms of international experience, it's Hellebuck, Ottinger, Swayman.
Yeah.
But in terms of this season, it's Swayman,
reversed.
Ottinger, Hellebuck. Hellebuck did have his own net at practice yesterday, right? The other 2 goalies were rotating, and Mike Sullivan, the head coach for Team USA, said, read into it what you will, with kind of a tongue-in-cheek look. So I think that kind of answered that question, as you can't get anything by people to watch hockey practices every day, can you? Unless you're Team Canada and you close your practice yesterday. They did, but it was
Canada closed their practice yesterday?
They did. It wasn't open to the media. It was kind of thought to be kind of a copycat thing. Some other teams did it. One team thought another team might be watching, and then Canada just did it. Canada's also not staying in the Olympic Village. They're staying in a hotel. Team USA is staying in the Olympic Village because Matthew Tkachuk says we want the experience.
Well,
staying in the Village.
First of all, that's the right thing to do. Have the Olympic experience. Second of all, a lot of young guys still on these Olympic hockey teams. The younger you are, the more likely that you're single. And if you're single, you should be staying in the Olympic Village. If any of the stories we've heard about the Olympic Village are true.
Sure.
Like, let those guys have the full experience. So I love that Team USA is staying in the Olympic Village and doing it that way. I also saw Nathan McKinnon was asked about, like, enjoying the experience. And he's on the opposite end. He said he's not here to enjoy himself. He wants to win. And he'll try to enjoy himself on the way to that. Canada feels like they put a lot of pressure on themselves.
We've talked about it before, like the teams in Vancouver and Toronto and even Edmonton. There's a microscope on them, and same thing with Team Canada. You can magnify it. It's an entire country. Sidney Crosby, I liked his verbiage of what they're there to do, and he said it's our responsibility for Canada to win the gold. But yeah, again, OC, you go back to a Canadian team not having won a Stanley Cup championship in 30 years. That's what we're talking about, right? The microscope, the pressure. The Canadians with NHL players at the Olympics have won all 3 times, going back to 98.
Adrian Denny for a couple more minutes here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Between the Pipes, where we talk all things hockey. As players are over there focusing on the competition, GMs, team presidents, personnel managers are preparing, I imagine, their deck of desires for this next month or so. Trade deadline. There's, I don't know, probably fast and furious after the Olympic break, but what role will the Utah Mammoth play before the March 6th trade deadline?
I think you will hear Utah mentioned in everything that you hear as a team taking a look, checking it out. And we've seen it already this year. There's been deals that you've heard Utah mentioned in that you haven't heard Utah mentioned in that, Bill Armstrong was just kind of checking out, saying, is this an option? Okay. We're not willing to go to that level of an asking price. Okay, for this asking price, is this possible? So I think you'll hear Utah mentioned in just about everything, but will they find something that strikes a chord to make a deal on? And for me, for the Mammoth to make a deal in terms of what they're giving up, if they're going to give up prospects, a first-round pick or a second-round pick, it's going to be a player returning who has term on his contract, who has multi-years left after this season. If it's a rental, it's probably a player coming back, 4th, 5th, 6th round, 7th round pick is what Utah's giving up, possibly a 3rd. I think that's what they look at. If they're going to invest in prospects or high round draft picks, it's going to be an impact player who comes here with term left on their deal, which is multi years left, so they can come in and just become a part of the core, because the team, as we said, not in the championship window yet. So if they're going to give something up, they want somebody to come in and be a part of that team to grow with, be part of the window, like JJ Peterka, who came in on the trade, signed a 5-year extension, Mikhail Sergachev, who came over before season number 1, who had 7 years of an 8-year contract left on it. But if it's a rental, right, I could see Utah giving up a 4th, 5th, 6th round pick for a player to come help the team push into the playoffs, get their X by their name in the standings, and you got enough that you're not going to feel too bad about giving up that and having a guy take off after a year if he's not part of the long-term plan.
Tanking has become another big conversation because of how the Utah Jazz are doing things right now, and the media response to that has been bizarre, in my opinion. Is there an NHL version of tanking?
Gosh, I think you see teams like Vancouver get to this point in the year. They traded Quinn Hughes, they've got injuries, and they're in sell mode, trying to pick up, assets for the future if they are.
Sure.
Right. I can't speak for the Vancouver Canucks and their way of doing business. I'll just say that, right? But that would be the typical thought, right? If you trade a big time player for the second straight year. Last year they traded JT Miller for, picks and prospects and guys to be part of the core. So that's what I think you see in the NHL is teams get to this point in the year. It's like, okay, let's see what we can get out of this guy. His contract expires in the next year or two. He's not part of our plans. We need to go young. Let's go the route that San Jose, Anaheim, Utah has done, and building from youth and the draft.
But you're removing players from the roster rather than saying, hey, fake an injury, or we're just not going to let you skate tonight, which is obviously the conversation and the problem in the NBA right now.
The only thing like that you really see in the NHL is, say, Artemi Panarin for the Rangers, who just got traded to LA. They'll put out a release that says Artemi Panarin will not be playing tonight for roster management reasons, trade-related purposes, something in the language like that. So they've got a guy they know they're going to trade. He knows he's going to be traded. And while the agent and the teams work on, say, an extension as part of the deal, or they continue negotiating, they'll hold the guy out to make sure that he doesn't get hurt. That's one thing that you do see in terms of a healthy player not playing a star player like that.
I don't know if anyone out there is watching the Olympics while they listen, but the ice dancing, I don't know where this pair is from. The guy was wearing what looked like a still suit from Dune, if you're a fan of the Dune movies. He's on ice, but he's preserving his water like he's on the planet Arrakis. Man, some great style going on there. You are our Nordic skiing expert for this Olympic cycle on the Sean O'Connell Show. So we lean on you for the updates on all things cross country.
Oh, it's amazing, OC. We had a tremendous race yesterday. Ben Ogden, who's from Vermont, ended a 50-year U.S. medal drought with a silver in the men's cross-country sprint. Second U.S. gentleman to win a medal in cross-country skiing since 1976. He enjoys knitting. It helps him unwind. So congratulations to Ben Ogden on his silver. Coming up tomorrow, we have the women's 10-kilometer freestyle, and same thing for the men. On Friday, relay and team events start this weekend. No Utahns as part of the U.S. teams at the Olympics in cross-country skiing.
It's because we don't have snow this year.
I couldn't make it.
They couldn't practice.
Couldn't make it.
I used to live on 11th Avenue, and whoever used to be riding by on their long rollerblades practicing in the summertime, they didn't qualify this year. Bummer.
Don't see as much of that anymore, do you?
You still do.
Do you still see it?
I assume they're associated with the university of some kind.
Okay. Over in that neighborhood. Okay, I gotcha.
Like I think they probably go cross country skiing from the university, maybe down through City Creek Canyon, who knows where else. But I do love the extra long rollerblades. It's a very specific thing you're preparing for if you're wearing 6-foot long rollerblades. All right. Between the Pipes brought to you by Aladdin Industries and Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Adrian Denny is kind enough to join us in studio every single week to break down all things hockey. Adrian, you're the man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me in, OC. Have a great week. We'll have another cross-country skiing update next week as the stuff really heats up over there in the Nordic track.
That's right. He's also our Nordic skiing expert. All right, another mock draft with a couple of Utes in the first round. I don't like where this one has Caleb Lomu going. We'll get to that on the other side. And also an Olympic curling update. We got a tie happening right now, and James is, well, he's sweating it out. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92 FM, proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network. All right, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. We got a mock draft. Field Yates put one out for ESPN. It looks a lot like the last one, the Matt Miller one we talked about, but I'll give you the main difference here in a second. After a curling update from our Olympic curling insider and specialist, James Peterson.
Oh my gosh, OC, we have a thrilling tie game in the final end in men's curling. The opening round robin game for Team USA. It is 7-7. It looks to be they look to have battled themselves to a standstill so far with like 2 stones left in the final end too. They look to have equal amount of stones in the house, the scoring zone, if you will, for curling. So this is about as tight as it gets. Coming down to the wire here. A couple of other tight ones going on as all 4 of these round robins games are going on at the same time. Italy, the host nation, of course, leading Sweden 7-5 in the 10th end. That's relatively close there. Also in the 10th end, Canada leading Germany 6-4. And then Great Britain just barely finished off their dominant win over China, 9-4. So that's the only one that's gone final so far. The men's, the Team USA match, or they might just go to extra ends, OC, which is, I mean, free curling. Why not? I mean, that's the best
That's what
thing
we're all
ever.
here for.
Free curling in the Olympics.
Free Olympic curling. It's all free for us. Although, I guess not anymore because nobody just has regular turn your TV on with the bunny ears antenna. Everyone's got cable that they're paying at least something for.
Yeah. I mean, you can get, I think a lot more people have the antenna, not the rabbit ears, but they've got an antenna because of the Jazz and Mammoth going back to over-the-air TV as an option. So probably a fair amount of people watching it that way.
I don't. Are we done with our curling update?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're done. I might chime in as soon as this goes final if it doesn't go to extra ends here, which is I'm making an official curling term as extra ends.
So I was just watching. There was a commercial on for. I'm watching the Olympics. Figure skating is happening right now. Ice dancing is going on. Okay.
By the way, is that Ryan Howard from The Office? Ice dancing.
It looks just like him. It's the French couple in 8th place after the rhythm section of ice dancing. Man, the costumes. I think I have a new goal to be a costume designer for Olympic. The crazy thing is, if you watch Blades of Glory,
so good.
The Will Ferrell and
you can dream it, you
John
can
Hader,
do it, OC.
Like the outfits they're actually wearing in the Olympics are indistinguishable from the farcical costumes that they wear in that movie.
The French woman in the ice dancing pair, she looks like she could have a little peacock on her wrist, like Jimmy McElroy.
Seriously,
Jimmy McElroy.
But I'm watching this, and
Galloping
the commercials,
peacock, beautiful.
The commercials just showed a company called Archer, and just casually they dropped Archer, the official air taxi of the LA 2028 Olympics. I'm sorry, what? What is an air taxi?
Is it like a helicopter that takes you?
It's an electric helicopter.
That's what I thought, yeah.
That has 20 to 50 mile range. And you could obviously go straight line over the top of traffic. They're like multi-prop little miniature planes / helicopters. Apparently they're ready to use these things in 2028. You don't just on television be like, we're the official we don't know what an air taxi is.
We're the official spaceship of the LA Olympics. Like, what? Hey, by the way, I have an update.
Okay, let's go.
We have a final.
All right.
Team USA.
USA.
Conquers Czechia 8-7 in the opening game of the men's round robin, the preliminary round of the men's curling. Let's go. USA. USA.
Eat it, Czechia. Sorry about your luck, veggie. Just kidding. Karol Vizmelka, we love you.
We actually feel kind of bad because we love veggie, but we don't want you to be sad, veggie, but we did just beat your country.
All right. I don't know if I'm ready for the air taxi commercials. That trips me out.
And come on, did anyone not go, wait, how did Kobe Bryant die again? Oh yeah, let's have millions of people go that way.
Yikes.
Yeah, not die that way. let's get millions of people on helicopters like that.
The mock draft that Field Yates put out on ESPN.com has basically the same top 6 as the Matt Miller one we read earlier this week, which puts puts Spencer Fano in Cleveland again. So I don't like it. I don't want that to be the case. I don't want that to be the place where he ends up.
Who's the other tackle that they have? It's Miami,
it's
right?
Miami's tackle, Francis Mauigoa, who
would be going where?
He would be going to the Arizona Cardinals at pick number 3.
If you're Spencer Fano, can we just switch?
Can we swap that one out? Now, if you remember, the last mock draft that we looked at from ESPN had Caleb Lomu going to my beloved San Francisco 49ers, which, of course, I'm on board with. I like that fit. I like the idea of having another Ute in a Niners uniform to root for. This mock draft has the Texas A&M wide receiver Casey Concepcion going to the San Francisco 49ers, and Caleb Lomu falling back to pick number 31, which, of course, puts him with the New England Patriots. It actually is a perfect fit.
Yeah, it fills a huge need for them, as we saw in the Super Bowl.
Now, I said that the benefit for Caleb Lomu if he goes to the San Francisco 49ers is he could potentially sit behind Trent Williams. Jeff Schwartz was like, well, they would probably just make him play right tackle, and that would be the plan for the New England Patriots, who have doubled down and said, Will Campbell had a bad game. He's done his film study. He's going to figure it out. He's a young guy, and I think that is the right answer. And
he was a top 5 pick, too, right? Like, obviously a lot of talent.
Yes, he's
Will Campbell.
Yes, he was an All-American playing in the SEC at LSU. Yeah. It's not like
he's probably going to get a lot better from here.
I mean, I get it. It's a high-profile place to fail or to struggle, but pressure is a privilege, man. The only reason that he's in that conversation is because he helped his team get to that game. This mock draft puts Caleb Lomu in a New England Patriots uniform, and obviously that helps the offensive line that needs help.
Well, and going back to, we were talking about this yesterday and the day before. We were talking about how the Bengals, or I brought up how the Bengals had a chance to shore up their offensive line by drafting Penei Sewell instead of drafting Jamar Chase. And immediately, that had an immediate benefit having Jamar Chase on the team. They get to the Super Bowl, right? They have an incredible offense, and we've seen the offense has been incredible, except that they still can't protect Joe Burrow, right? So long term, maybe it's shown to be, hey, maybe that was a mistake there. As good as that connection has been in the NFL, the Patriots is a whole different situation. They did use a top 5 pick on an important offensive line position in Will Campbell, right?
Yes.
It just takes time. Takes time for the even top 5 picks and rookies coming out of the SEC. They still look like rookies in the NFL sometimes, and it just shows that they're doing it the right way. And if they have the chance to draft a Caleb Lomu in the first round too, they have a chance to show, hey, yeah, we'll give him more. We'll give Drake May more weapons another way, but we're gonna work on protecting him first. And he, by the way, he also has quite a few weapons.
And by the way, Drake May is probably fully on board with that strategy.
Yes.
Like, wait a second, you're gonna make it so I get hit less because I got hit more than any quarterback ever has in the playoffs. I got sacked more than any quarterback ever has in the playoffs. You're helping to solve that problem for me? Fine, I'll throw it to a slightly slower guy. And especially in New England, there's this long history there, and Mike Vrabel played on teams where Mike Vrabel himself became a scoring threat and a pass-catching option. So for him, he's just like, look, if we protect the quarterback and we have the right quarterback, we can plug in middle-aged linebackers to catch passes. Because he did that.
Yeah, he was J.J. Watt, linebacker, pass rusher, red zone threat before J.J. Watt was the linebacker, the pass rusher, red zone threat. Yeah, he was the OG.
All right, we'll take another quick break here. We have stained tickets to give away next with a trivia question. Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on October 7th. Sean O'Connell Show, also some crosstalk with Spence Checketts coming. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right. Stained tickets for anyone at 877-353-0700 who can tell me the answer to this question. Early January, the Washington Wizards traded for Trae Young. How many games has Trae Young played for the Washington Wizards since that trade? 877-353-0700 if you know the answer. They're not tanking, by the way. They're just bad. They're not tanking. 2 Stain tickets on October 7th to the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. Crosstalk brought to you by friends at Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Tell them OC and Spence sent you. Lifetime guarantee on those windows, by the way. If there is a problem, which is unlikely, it is covered for the life of your home. No middleman, no markups. Advanced Window Products. Spence Checketts in the driver next. He's here in studio. Hey, Spence.
I know the answer to your trivia question.
Okay, let me wait until someone gets it right on the text line. And
Okay.
then you can share.
In the meantime, I went to the Utah-Houston game last night.
Okay.
Your boy decided to roll up,
Okay.
walk across campus. So, the bad news, well, there are several pieces of bad news about the fact that there are no fans in that building, right? But the one kind of fringe benefit from a media member perspective and somebody who loves basketball and really wants Alex to succeed, I was on the 15th row. They're good seats, not great seats, fine seats, right? But because there are no fans in the building, you can hear crystal clear what Alex is saying to his team. You can hear everything, okay? So for anybody out there that doesn't think Alex has this side of him where he's intense, he does. And for anybody out there who thinks Alex isn't coaching this team up, he is. Here's what I don't understand, Sean. I would imagine you caught a portion of the game, right?
Yes.
21, number 21 for Houston, right? Good player. On fire. Okay, I think he hit 6 threes in the first half. And I'm sitting here going, well, he can shoot, so let's go ahead and, maybe push back a little bit. And Alex, every time he caught the ball, was yelling gap, yelling blitz, yelling get up. And for whatever reason, the players, don't get it. I hate to be harsh, but I could hear... I was almost laughing because I saw a couple old buddies at the game. So Emmanuel Sharp, who's been around, he's a good college basketball player. He is a senior. And one of Kelvin Sampson's superpowers is a lot of these kids just don't transfer. He goes 8 of 13 from 3. He hits 4 straight in the first half, but they're practice threes. They're walk-in threes. He wasn't beating people off the dribble. He was catching the ball and looking around all right, no one is near me. But after it was apparent that he was feeling it, and the kid's a good player anyway, I was just sitting there trying not to laugh because I felt so bad for Alex. Sharp catches the ball, and he's yelling, gap, blitz, get up, get up. And for whatever reason, the players are like, duh. And they wouldn't. Catch and shoot threes all night long. I don't want to be overly harsh, but after watching that game last night, I am very convinced that behind closed doors, Alex has to be pulling his hair out with these players' either unwillingness or inability to listen to what he is saying. I wasn't thrilled that I could sit there hearing everything that the coach is saying because a college basketball venue is supposed to have enough noise where you can't hear, the coach yelling the plays and the defensive sets. But he was yelling at his players, and they were not listening to him. It was one of the most wild things I've ever seen.
A frustrating season, certainly a frustrating Big 12 season, especially for Utah basketball. And don't let it take away from how you felt last year when Alex was announced as the hire.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to take time, and maybe more than time. It's going to, they're going to have to re-energize and inject some talent back into this program that just isn't there right now.
I'm actually thinking about this last night watching the game, and let me be very clear, because I went down to Provo, shout out my people, to watch Houston and BYU play. And one of the reasons I wanted to go last night is watching Houston play basketball is really fun this year. If they could win the national championship, it would not surprise me at all. Okay. So this is not necessarily an indictment on Utah because Houston is that good. But, Sean, I'm watching the game last night. I'm going up and down the roster. I'm like, who do you want back? And, Terrence Brown and Don McHenry are good ball in hand individual scorers, but they don't play team basketball. They don't guard. Keanu's got some stuff that you like. And, I was told that, BYU has spent more on A.J. DeBonsa and Kansas spent more on Darren Peterson than Utah basketball has on its entire roster. And look, if that's the case, if there are any deep-pocketed donors and boosters that are listening to the show right now, and I know that you are, don't lie, okay? Can we write our guy a check? Can we get our guy some talent? Because every time I watch them, I'm like, dude, they don't have near the talent, the size, the athleticism, the depth that the team across them does. And if you're not writing checks for talent in the modern day and age of either college basketball or college football, you have no shot.
Well, that message of optimism comes to you from the Drive and Spence Checketts.
Wait, we believe in love for 3, 2, 1. Love is a hallmark emotion that you've been basically conditioned to believe that isn't real.
Love is dead.
It's 2:00.
Now that it's time for the Drive.
Can I give you the Trey answer?
Yeah.
0.
Correct.
He hasn't played in one game.
He hasn't played in any game.
And guess what? He's not hurt.
Oh, come on. The team would not lie about that.
No, that's a good point.
That would be threatening the integrity of basketball.
That's my bad. You're right.
Only the Jazz do that by sitting down people in the fourth quarter.
I was telling you, because I had an unexpected 90 minutes in my car today, tuning in to my guy, Sean O'Connell, Andy Phillips, great joke about the skiing in Michigan being horrible right off the top. And then when you went to commercial, I fired up because I saw that Bill Simmons was talking about, and I know a lot of people don't like Bill, but he's a basketball guy. He knows the history of the league. And so I'm like, all right, maybe Bill will bring some brevity to this tanking conversation. And he had that con artist Nick Wright on his show, who's just a hot take guy. And they did 10 minutes on the Jazz. Like, it's unprecedented. The way the Jazz are doing this is unprecedented. I'm like, you should know better, Bill Simmons. It absolutely is not unprecedented. I've been thinking about this, exchanging texts with some people around the league, like trying to understand why suddenly, A, people are just noticing the teams are tanking, B, people suddenly care, and C, why the Jazz specifically have become the target of national NBA media. And I honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah, being the poster child for a negative phenomenon and you're the one who's not even most guilty of it is very odd. But it's the new money owner, okay? It's a team that doesn't have any influential players, or I don't think the Jazz really have any influential human beings on the NBA level that can pick up the phone and be like, we are not the scapegoats for this. Yeah. I mean, maybe Danny Ainge can do that.
Yeah, Danny would be the one who could. But I think Danny's more worried about tea times than he is about narratives around the team.
And I mean, that's fair. He's earned that right in his life.
He absolutely has.
But the idea that the Utah Jazz are the ones being dragged and will be punished through the draft lottery, mark my words.
I heard you're bogus. Did Rogan do a pod on the draft lottery that I missed, or what's going on?
I get nothing from Rogan, but if you can influence outcomes as a multi-billion-dollar business, you do. That's just how it is.
It's hard to argue with that. I come at this with a little bit of experience, and you had the nerve to utter Patrick Ewing's name into that microphone. Shame on you, Sean O'Connell.
All right. Well, you can listen to 4 hours of delusion from Spence Checketts.
Look, you're not alone, all right? You're not alone. Okay. And also, the same people believe we didn't land on the moon, and that's all right. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm up in the night. It's not rigged. It's a lottery. It literally is.
The lottery's never been rigged. There's no evidence anywhere that lotteries of any kind are ever rigged so that people can win multiple or that certain people will win them. It never happened with the Monopoly game at McDonald's. All of these sweepstakes things are 100% pure chance.
Hold on. I'm now changing my viewpoint. Is it possible to rig like a state lottery?
Yeah.
Well, can we do that? 4 hours of radio a day, dude. I'm getting old. Like, if there's a way to rig a state lottery, I need that information.
You need to live in a state with a lottery first.
That would be step one. Wait. No, you have to answer my question that I asked you off air. I want it on air because I was debating this.
Yeah.
there are several things that are frustrating in life, but I would say moving absolutely sucks.
Yeah, moving's terrible.
Even if you're moving into like a new place you're pumped about, just the process sucks. And then sitting in a dentist chair like I did this morning sucks.
Yeah. Shout out to all dentists. Thank you for the work you do, but we all hate you.
Yeah, you're the worst. I mean, thanks, but, screw you. Would you rather get a legitimate deep root canal or have to move?
I think that the root canal, because it is a shorter period of suffering.
Okay.
Hour, 2 hours in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got like that another 30 minutes while your face is kind of numb.
Like the Novocaine.
Yeah.
Oh.
But moving is like a multi-week process.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, oh my gosh. Even if you hire people, you're like, you still got to unpack the boxes and decide where to put all your crap.
Yeah. Sophie's choice, man. I was just curious as to what you would say.
Yeah. So, wow. I just chose the dentist. Yuck. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll do it again tomorrow. Stay tuned for The Drive on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM.